Are we on?
We are on.
We are on. Welcome back to Burnt Out Studios. It's funny, I always, kind of wonder about what people on podcasts, what they talk about before the podcast actually starts. Because, you're catching up and all that kind of stuff. And talking about different things. We were just talking about, I think I'm on chapter 7.
Oh, well, we'll change that later.
Anyway, but, Bruce was telling me about, his dad and stuff and how hard this damn economy is right now. It's you can't really make ends meet.
Oh, no. It's ridiculous. And then they keep... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, luckily the stimulus thing looks like it's going through or whatever, even though, there's so much pork in it, it's ridiculous.
I don't understand why can't they stagger it?
What, the pork?
Well, the pork, but I mean the stimulus. I don't understand this.
I mean, 1,000 here and 1,000 somewhere else.
600. If you make over $100,000 a year, $600. Fine. Give them $600 to go just spend frivolously to let somebody work. But there are people who are down making $30,000 a year who haven't worked for 3-4 months, and they're in trouble.
Oh yeah,
those are paycheck to paycheck people.
Well, and even when you make in the 50 range, you're still kind of paycheck to paycheck.
You can be depending on where you live.
Yeah.
If you lived in a major metropolitan area,
mm-hmm.
you have to make 50 just to be paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
So it's like, but this is a big but, a little bit. Some of that, and there's always a big but, is, some people choose to live there and they choose those high rates, and that just doesn't, but, other than that though, but it's like, there are people out there who need that money, not for frivolous stuff.
No,
they need it just to pay their rent and pay their bills, and
eating would be nice.
And to have people like Mitch McConnell, they don't need it. You know who doesn't need it? We don't need him as a politician anymore. That guy needs to stop being a politician.
Well,
that guy needs to go away as a politician. I always got to put that in there.
Those are the kind of people that want to be politicians.
That's true. I was watching Tim Pool last night, and listening to all those crybabies cry about bureaucracy and then want to fix it with more bureaucracy. Morons. I mean, the stupidity that came out of their mouths last night was just fascinating. And then he tried to switch subjects because he couldn't handle what Mr. July ripped the shit out of him on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hear every one of them except for little weasel dude say, "I guess I'm gonna have to get into the game.
Right.
Looks like I have to run, start changing things on the local level, start moving up because
well, what I want to know is
stop complaining if you're not gonna do anything about it. So."
But I wonder sometimes, if people get into politics, and they are actually get into it for all those reasons that you just said, they want to change things and blah, 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 and they start out with the best of intentions, and I want to know where it is, and, I've actually heard, this was like 3 or 4 years ago, I actually heard Glenn Beck ask that same question, was somewhere along the lines, it seems like these people lose their soul.
So when I was on my mission in New York City, one of the members was a law student going to Columbia. And he graduated summa cum laude from Columbia. So he could write his ticket, right? Not to mention he was half American Indian. So he really could write his ticket. But he was an Irish, half Native American, and he was a Republican. So that's like a unicorn, right?
Right.
And so he was looking at all his options. Work 100 hours in New York City, starting out at 80,000 a year, you know, or he got a job with the Securities Exchange Commission down in Washington, making 45, but they paid off 80% of the student loans.
That's nice.
So, cha-ching, right? Plus, it put him down in Virginia. He wanted to be there so he could be in the politics realm, you know, and that was what he wanted to pursue. So, he got to go to a GOP event where you've seen those movies where there's somebody at the door, and somebody comes in, Mr. The Honorable Judge so-and-so and so-and-so, and they announce the people as they come in. So he got to do that, which I guess was a great honor, right? Whatever. So, but that's hobnobbing, right? That's meeting at point. Then later on, they're, oh yeah, you were the nice gentleman, blah, blah, blah. And he started getting into working with some campaigns, and he saw what it took to win a campaign. And said, out and went and worked in some law firm in Nebraska. But it was like he saw what it took, all the mudslinging and and how low you have to drop yourself just to win a campaign. And I think that's where it starts. You lose your soul there because if you're willing to compromise there,
right,
then you're. And I think that's what probably pissed off the establishment the most about Trump was the fact that he didn't care, it seemed like.
Well, yeah.
He didn't pander at all. He didn't. If he slung mud over there, he was slinging mud over there, and he didn't care if you slung it back at him. And the mud he slung, damn, was clean. You know what I mean? That was the worst part. It wasn't even like he was slinging his own dirty mud at her. He was slinging just clean, just straight, bam, and they're like, They couldn't even talk.
Yeah.
They would get in these debates with him, and he would say something, they'd be like, that.
Yep.
So that's why it used to be so much about your strength of character. You know what I mean? And
yeah, nobody cares about that shit anymore.
You know, and I was watching one of those gotcha videos, you know, gotcha things that these young Republicans do, and they were saying they're going around getting reactions to things that Biden has said. Joe Biden.
I think I've seen this too.
Did you see the one where he talked about how Obama was clean?
Yes, the clean. Basically he was saying for a black guy, he's clean and well spoken and all that stuff.
Well, no, he never said as a black guy.
Right.
He just said he's well spoken with women. He's clean. You know, and then I did right out the first, thinking about it too, and so they implied that he was saying that somehow African Americans are dirty, right? But I was sitting in bed that night thinking about it, and I thought, we used to throw a word around in politics about being dirty, meaning you were willing to take money to do things that made you dirty,
right,
that made you compromise. And Biden could have been saying that he was clean as a politician. Whether he was or not, I'm just saying. But it was amazing how my own bias, other people's own bias, went straight to the other way, right? Right. But here he is, a politician, talking about that's something the politicians always talked about, being clean or dirty, blah, blah, blah. And yet it was like, I might have to give him that one. I don't know. Just well, it wasn't whether he was or not. It was on the soundbite.
Mm-hmm.
Was he saying a racist thing, or was he talking about his political life? And it's not clarified, so I can't jump either way. Now, he has said many other things that makes you think that he was talking about the racist part of it, but, you know.
Well, you know, it's funny. I think one of the biggest problems we have nowadays is, you know, if we're getting into politics here, you know, I was driving my kids back to their mom's house today, and I drove by Camp Williams, and Evie, for some reason, pointed at the one big building on the hill, says, "Is that a prison?" And I'm like, "No, that's the largest listening post in America." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "That's basically a giant computer that goes 4 stories down into the ground that collects all the data for every phone call, every text, everything that we ever send out." And then
spying.
Then I, you know, went into explaining, you know, who Edward Snowden is and who WikiLeaks were and all that kind of stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, when I'm saying all this to her, is the problem with us as Americans, as conservatives or liberal or whatever, is we learn about something like this when it got leaked, when, you know, Snowden said, "Hey, the United States is listening to everyone's phone call." Everybody in America, when they heard that, just shrugged their shoulders and said, "Yeah." So, it's like, don't they understand that in order to do that in the past, you had to have a warrant to listen to phone calls?
Yeah,
and we just...
But the Patriot Act...
You're right, the Patriot Act, I know. But, I mean, it's like, we just keep on giving up, you know, an inch at a time.
Oh, yeah. We've given up more than an inch at a time. Well, that was just ridiculous.
And, you know, this voter thing, you know, whether there was voter fraud or not, absolutely there was voter fraud. Absolutely. But we're not going to do a goddamn thing about it.
No.
It's just going to be another inch at a time. Anyway. I guess the thing is, you know, as an American, you know, I just kind of go, what can I do? And there is nothing that, I don't think there is anything that I as an individual can do. I mean, if there's somebody out there that could tell me that I'm wrong on that, then please go ahead and tell me.
I don't know what that is supposed to be.
It looks like the start of a face, maybe?
It was supposed to be, but I'm thinking maybe...
But, anyway, you know, you were talking about your
what
dad
are you
and
supposed
stuff.
to do? You're supposed to... Well, the fascinating thing about the way the government works, though, is it's a slow-moving beast.
But it's always moving.
But hopefully you could get into, you know, if you're willing to jump into the fray and get into the fight, then hopefully...
But the problem is...
You can help change
Let's say if I jumped into the fray, let's just say that, you know, somebody got in there and their whole campaign was that they wanted to start repealing as many laws as they could because we're overburdened with all these stupid regulations and all these, you know, things, you know, and, you know, all these departments. You know, we have a department of this and a department of that. And, you know, and all of these things that we've created that creates this massive bureaucracy that has to go away, you know, in order to, you know, streamline this and make everything transparent. That's what, you know, the platform I'd be running on. And the problem is like you said, it's a massive beast that keeps moving forward. And there is no way to swim upstream and get any of this shit repealed. There's no way you could get rid of any of these departments that don't do a fucking thing. There's no way you can get rid of any of these laws. It's just not possible. Because it keeps moving forward, and there's no way to push it backwards.
I suppose there has to be. I mean, well, we can always vote to have things. What's it called?
But I mean, let's say that you
that
wanted,
we're going to end a certain thing.
Let's say that you wanted to get rid of the Department of Education. You would have to go in there and try and convince a billion people now that have jobs in that department. You know, all the teachers, all of the all of these higher education people now that are part of the Department of Education. They're never going to say yes. I mean, it's just it's not going to happen. So yeah,
Well, you change. You try to change how it's done. I mean, that's what they did to get it this way, right? They changed how we did education,
right?
And that's what you would have to try to do is
yeah, but
all that's only going to come with people understanding that where we're at now just is no longer sustainable. And what's fascinating is and I don't know, it'll be fascinating to see how many on the ground jobs that we're able to protect.
All right.
Coming up soon, because Tim talks about that study that they did that asked sixth graders where they want to grow up to be, and the number one thing was online influencer.
Yeah, my son wants to do that too. So yeah, I understand.
It's like, and because of that though, well, if that's what he wants to grow up to be, what does he have to go to school for?
Shit.
I mean, and not just.
I mean, yeah, the reading and writing thing, but yeah, that's about it.
Right. Reading. All he has to do is learn how to read and write, and then go and apprentice the thing that he wants to. Social media, right?
Right.
Influence. It's almost like I wanna be a Call of Duty guy. Well, go and pay the best Call of Duty guy you can get to,
right,
to mentor you, right?
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a time when you would pay as the parent a professional,
right,
to tutor your child, on how to be something,
right. Yeah, no.
And so right there, so there's a way to change the education system and how our children learn things here, but it's going to take parents who are willing to try that, or willing to be brave enough to say, F the school system, I'm going to put my child in an apprenticeship for that.
Right.
And let him go off and play Call of Duty at 10 years old? Isn't that crazy? That'd be crazy?
Right.
That'd be crazy, the idea that your kid isn't going to school.
Well, the thing is
around the neighborhood.
There's so many laws in so many different states that it's hard to homeschool your children, because the educational system wants a hand in everything.
Well, that's bureaucracy. That was the thing about Tim that was driving me nuts last night, and they keep on bringing it up. And so they had did you see it last night?
No.
So they had the guy on there, Eric July. He's on the Blaze.
Okay.
He has a show called Young Ripa 59. I think I showed you him.
Probably.
He, let me just...
For a quick little doodle, that turned out really good.
Yeah. So far, right?
So far, yeah.
I think it's 59. Yeah, Young Ripa 59. This guy.
Okay.
You remember him?
Kinda.
Uh,
he.
That.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we watched that, right? We watched this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he was on the show, and he was trying to explain to them what pure capitalism in the form of a libertarian process would be, and it was fascinating to watch Tim and the other little idiot talk about the fact of, and they've had people on there. Oh, it was Enrique from the Proud Boys, who he called them both out on the same thing with the idea that those two guys inherently believe everybody's evil, and that if given the choice to do something, they would do the evil thing. So Eric said, "How come roads can't be privatized?"
Right.
And they said, "Well, because then somebody's going to own them all." He goes, "How is anybody going to own them all unless you leverage the government to allow you to be able to buy them all?" And they're like,
"Right,
well, you just buy them all." And they couldn't understand what he was trying to say. And then they were like, because so your wife's out somewhere and their wife is out somewhere and she pisses their wife off. And so then the guy says, "Okay, I'm not going to let you use my roads no more." And Eric's like, "Well, you can't shut down all the roads." "Well, he owns them all." "Well, he won't be able to own them all." And it's like they couldn't get over the fact that the idea that making money is more important than petty jealousies,
right,
and stuff like that. And then the idea that he's like, "Show me a monopoly that hasn't been done with government interference."
right.
And they couldn't understand the fact, and he couldn't explain it properly. But I sat and told my wife, "This is how it works. You got 5 roads that go into a town, maybe 6, whatever, and you own those ones, and somebody owns this one, and this guy goes to the town council and says, 'Set up all your shops on my road, and I'll give you a discount,' or blah, 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 blah." And so then they do that, and then he's able to shut down access into his...
Well, what's funny is,
But the only way you're able to do that is how? Interference with a corrupt government agency. And that's what Eric was trying to tell him.
Well, the thing is
just get those people out of my way.
If you go back into history and you look at back when roads were private, most of the time the person that owned the road was the big business that built their shop somewhere and then built a road so people could get to it.
Right.
It's
and that's what he was saying. He was saying, and then then Carnegie, they're talking about Rockefeller come in, owned up all the I think it was Rockefeller he bought up the railroads, and then told New York City, "Well, you pissed me off. I'm not going to allow stuff to come in." And Eric's like, "Yeah, but the only way he bought that was through government leverage, right? It's like, why would if you're making $10 on your road, and I'm making $10 on the road, why would I sell it?
Shit.
And just sit back and make my $10. I wouldn't sell it. The only way I'd sell it is if you finagle the way to get your road the only one that's being used, and nobody's using my road no more, and then I sell your road because I'm losing money on it, and then you open up stores on my road. It's like, but that's through crooked stuff, and the idea though that people are inherently crooked is the only way you can foster that type of mentality. And to listen to those two fight him on it was fascinating. And then and they were talking about, well, if you don't like this form of system, why don't you move? And Eric's like, well, shouldn't have to move. I want to be able to live here and have those free society that we're supposed to have and do that stuff. And they're like, well, it's not how it works. It's like, he's like, and he really got him with the, he's like, you don't say that to a girl that's been raped, right? That you shouldn't have worn those clothes.
Right.
And then he's like, Tim's like, that's a whole different thing. Bill's like,
not really.
No, it's not. It's exactly that. No, it's a whole different thing. You can just up and move. If a gang, he's like, so what? A gang's oppressing you in the city, and so you just up and move. All you're doing is negating their acts of violence, right?
Right.
And he's like, no, it's different. No, it's the same exact thing. You have to hold them accountable for their violence. He's like, if you can move, hey, that's a whole different subject, but to just negate them of their violence, no. And then to say that it was.
Sounds like I need to listen to this.
Tim really kind of got railed on that one, and he thought he was winning the argument, but Eric just blitzed him on that. He made him look so. And then so every time so what about this? What about that? He wanted to change the subject. It's like, don't pussy out. You're getting blasted right there by somebody who. You're getting blasted by somebody who's read every Thomas Sowell book. And Thomas Sowell is a economist. And he's like, you got to understand what economy is. Economy is the study of the behavior of money. Economy isn't about numbers. It's about this behavior of how money is used and spent. And Thomas Sowell is an amazing economist. And so he was it was fascinating. I mean,
yeah, but definitely sounds like I need to go back and watch it.
Yeah,
or listen to it.
Well, the fascinating thing is to listen to those two idiots talk, and it's amazing how they kept on with my wife about this. It's like, I love how their way to solve bureaucracy is with more bureaucracy.
Yeah, that seems to be a reoccurring theme.
What's his name? Ian, he keeps on saying stuff like, well, if we just had access to their way of doing stuff, it's like, that's stealing. Should the government come in and reform 230? No. But you know what the government could do is make the internet a utility and just provide the internet. The servers, right? I mean, you can't, they can't, don't censor the content, you just provide the server, and then people like Facebook, whatever, or YouTube, is the app you use to access it.
Right.
But I guess that would give them an opportunity to.
But
I don't know.
would that make it so that YouTube and Facebook and all those places couldn't censor you?
Well, if they censor you,
since it's public,
yeah,
at that point.
But they can censor you all you want. But the information is still on the server. You're just using a different platform then. You know what I mean? So.
What platform would you be using?
I mean,
Facebook's a platform, right?
Right. So Facebook's a platform. So you could use Parler.
Okay.
But what I'm saying though is right now, like YouTube could turn off our channel, and then nobody on YouTube could get our this podcast, right?
Right.
But
it would still exist on Twitch.
It would exist on Twitch only for a limited time because Twitch only holds it for 14 days.
Wow.
You can't store anything on Twitch. But you could use something like Parler, and it all those programs, all those things to be is pointing at.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, I thought 230 was all about how Facebook and YouTube and all these places can censor you, and you don't have the right to sue them because they're just a platform. You know, so if something's offensive to you, you know, you can't blame YouTube and you can't blame Facebook because they're the, you know, just a platform. They're not the actual content writer.
Right.
But then again, if that was true, then they shouldn't be censoring people at all. Everything should just be going on there.
Right.
But they are censoring people, and I thought that's what 230 was all about, was trying to stop them, or try to make it so you'd be able to you know, not be able to sue them, basically.
Right. So 230 gives them protection, and so you can't say that they're a publisher.
Right.
So they didn't moderate the content that they. So it's like a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So once they decide what can go in and what can't go in, barring the law, the First Amendment,
Mm-hmm.
then they're just a platform. But as soon as they start saying no and yes, then they become a publisher.
Right.
Publishers can be sued for libel.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, all you have to do is not change 230. It's just make them declare whether or not they're going to be a publisher or a platform. And if they're a platform, then they can
censor.
They can only censor whether you're breaking the First Amendment. So, if you call for somebody's bodily harm,
right,
that's against the law.
Right.
If you call for blah, 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 anything that's against the law, they can then go in and censor. They can't go, well,
right,
I don't like what you're saying because, you know, it hurt my feelings. Well, hurt feelings isn't against the law.
Right. Because, yeah.
And so that they couldn't censor.
Yep.
So what I was saying though is if there was a central server, and that's where all the information got held, and then all that was is if it violates the First Amendment, it can be taken down from there. But if it doesn't, then it's allowed to be there, and then you would just your YouTube channel would be just like a way to point it there. And then you'd be using YouTube's access to point you at that.
Advertise, basically, yeah.
Or whatever. Or, you know, it's like, well, so many people are on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
so you're leveraging that. But as soon as they decide, well, we don't like you as a person,
Right.
but they just don't erase all your content.
Right.
So there are videos that people have made that are just gone.
I know.
Because YouTube decided that you don't fit their way of talking.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, this video could get struck just because of what we said at the beginning with the voter F word.
Oh.
Seriously, you know, logarithms could just turn what we say into text, go through and say, oh, they said it, it's struck.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, we don't have enough viewers to be monetized anyway.
True. Well, it's not monetized, taken down.
Right.
They would just take the channel down.
That'd be different.
You know, this video would just cease to exist
Yeah.
on the YouTubes.
Because, you know, it's funny, I was listening, I think it was a radio show, listening to some person, you know, and he was talking about, you know, he was talking about soldiers and, you know, how they fight for our freedoms and all that stuff, and it just struck me as funny all of a sudden because I thought, what do you mean? They're not fighting for our freedoms anymore because we just gave them all up.
Right.
It's like,
well,
we don't fight for our own goddamn freedom.
That's, you know, that they're doing it on the foreign level.
Right.
But we didn't, I think people weren't expecting to get so ravaged on the
Home front?
home front.
Yeah.
We didn't think we were having to fight a battle here, but apparently we've been infiltrated, they say, you know, and I don't know, I just find it fascinating. I don't know how SCOTUS just kind of
said no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know, because it's like if you're going to not hear a case just because, then you just shut off half of the world, basically. You know, their opinion doesn't matter. Okay, no big deal.
Right. I mean, they pretty much just told half of the United States. Yeah.
Because even, you know, because
it really lets you know that.
Because even with somebody like me, who I'm not, you know, I'm a libertarian. I don't really, you know, have a stake in, you know, either president. Although, you know, I guess, you know, fear is what's driving me more because I'm afraid of what one president will do versus another. But anyway, you know, putting that all aside, I don't have a team that I'm rooting for. But God, I sure would like to see justice be done when somebody brings a court case to court, and then, you know, to have the court just say, I'm not going to listen to you.
Oh, I know. I don't understand that. I always forget about that.
It's like, you know,
Although
they
I don't
had
know if anybody's
how many
actually
people?
watching.
How many people was subpoenaed?
270 people gave sworn affidavits.
Yes, that's what I meant. And that's enough to get a court case in any.
Yeah, and a sworn affidavit is not just anything.
No, it's a perjury thing. I mean, if they lied, then it's perjury. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, you know, as an American citizen, all I guess I can do is shrug. Because
I don't know. I know there's really nowhere in the world to go.
Oh yeah, I know.
I mean, there are some places, but I don't know if I want to go there. And it's not like they're much better.
Well, the worst thing is and bringing this back to, you know, who we are and what we do. I hate the fact that I write those stories in a town called Liberty, which we don't really talk about much on this. I mean, we talked about it in the very first few podcasts. We have a comic book series that we're doing called A Town Called Liberty, and it's everything I write about is coming true.
Yeah.
And I wrote it as a goddamn joke.
Mm-hmm. I know. I remember talking about it because I wanted to write it in a way, because, oh gosh, I just tried using my finger. Because I remember, I think I told you about it, these Christian books that talked about the end of the world,
mm-hmm.
and they just reveled in the non-Christians getting their comeuppance, you know, and the idea that they would You know, it's everything against what they really should be believing, and I thought it would be a fun joke to write a book like that, and that's almost like what
I know
what that is. It's like this idea that's like, ha 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 ha. Oh wait, oh shit, oh whoops. You know, it's like, did I do that? It's what I feel like people are 20 years from now when these kids that are making some money right now start making some good money,
mm-hmm.
and realize that how much taxes they're paying. And then they're going to start complaining about all the taxes and realize, hey, dipshit, you voted for all that stuff when you were
mm-hmm.
19 and thought you were saving the world.
Right.
You know, maybe, you know, they keep talking about moving legal age for driving back. And we keep talking about moving, like, why do people have to stay in school for so long and stuff? But maybe it needs to be, we need to move school back. Maybe these idiots need to stay in school longer and get something, because whatever is happening right now is they're dumb shit.
Eventually America's it's going to be just like we wrote about in a town called Liberty. It's going to be people living in big cities, you know, doing everything they can to protect, you know, animal rights and, you know, the environment and all this kind of stuff, you know, which I understand that's important, but some of the things like, for instance, every year now, California lights on fire. And it burns out of control. It's crazy. And one of the things that they do here in Utah and that they do here in other states is they have these people that work for the Forest Service. And they go out and they get rid of all the dead underbrush. And you know why they do that? To prevent forest fires. Does California do that? Fuck no. Why is there a fire every year? Because they don't do that.
We had to spend that money on security.
And it's like, you know...
We had to provide armed guards for the governor because he told you couldn't have a gun, so he had to provide... and he took the funds for that. It's okay. You really didn't want that stuff anyways, right?
Well, I just don't. I don't understand. You know, it's just crazy.
I understand.
Because another thing, you know, like in California, you know, another thing that they don't do because it's you know, I guess they for some reason made the argument that it was environmentally you know, not good for the environment, whatever. Is they don't dig reservoirs, you know, where you can store rainwater, so you don't go through droughts that California goes through.
No, they have enough money to buy it.
And so, yeah, they have their water piped in. And it's just retarded because, you know, rain falls from the sky, and if you collect it in a reservoir, you can use that all year.
Yeah,
but they don't do that because for some reason you can't dig, and also you can't collect rainwater as a private citizen either.
No. Then you're stealing it from the state.
And, you know, it's like, really? I just don't get it, you know? Because, like, when I drive my kids from, you know, where they live with their mom to my house, it's a good half-hour drive. I pass 3 or 4 reservoirs. It's like, wow. Genius.
You know, who knows why they do some of that stuff? I don't know. truthfully, I can speculate, but then when I speculate, all that does make me into a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. But I mean, everything that we've ever talked about, I mean, I know that we've only literally done one book, the first book for a town called Liberty, which we'll have to show the viewers sometime. Anyway, we've only done that first book, but I've written script for 3, and I have, probably 20 ideas, and it's all on different subjects, basically. The first one is about, clean energy, and the second one is about animal rights, and, I can't remember what the third one, et cetera, is, but, I mean, I wrote down all of these ideas, all of these, subjects, just to do a story about every one of these things. And man, it's crazy when you see these things coming true.
Right. I'm going to borrow something from Naruto really quick and see if, because even though it's from Naruto, it's actual historical thing.
What, in the picture?
The little head plate that they had. The ninjas on the show would have these head plates. That they had, and I'm just gonna see if I can. I want to see if I can make a.
But what were the plates you were saying are historically, or what accurate? What was the?
I think in Japan they would use them to protect their forehead.
Well, it is a target in, sword fighting. The head is a target, so I guess that, could be historically accurate.
But
most of the time they would come down on your collarbone.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to. I wanted to have a. Like our version of the Elven armor.
Right.
And I was going to do a play on that. I wanted to do.
Well, it's funny. That's one of the things that I thought would be so cool, visually, for the readers to see, is with characters like Lucius and these characters that have literally met all of these people from different time periods, and exchanging gifts, and or just inheriting some of their property when they die. They'll literally have all these different artifacts that they're carrying around from all these different time periods. And it's kind of fun. It would be kind of fun for the reader to just look at it and go, "Wow, look, that's the cigarette lighter he got from that guy from Vietnam or whatever."
Right. Well, that'd be fun eventually.
Look, that's the laser sword that he got off that robot.
But like right now, I think the cool thing would be. It's like there's an older version of what we would see on something. You know what I mean? It's like, you have the Japanese headdress thing that goes up like that.
Right.
That flares out thing.
Yeah.
And blah 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 with the. And they had the face mask, but a Greek thing.
Right.
I mean, it's not far off, right?
No.
So then, how do you take elements of that and make something uniquely Elven, whatever? But then you see, ooh, look, there's like the Japanese, and there's the Greek. It's like you can see how it can go either way.
Right.
And I think that'd be kind of fun. That's what I was trying to do with this. It's like, how do I marry these different ideas to where
right.
We would look at them and be like, oh, that's this and that's that, and then
another thing
be able to just say, ooh, that is cool looking.
That's another thing that kind of interesting to me is where does function stop and where does fashion start? Because what's really fascinating is like my ex-wife is Korean, and to go back and look at some of these Korean shows, you don't even have to go back. There are some Korean shows that are being made right now that show historical garbs and stuff that they wore. And one of the things that's fascinating to me, and I don't know where it came from, I'd have to do some history about it. If you ever watch some of these period shows in Korea, they had these hats that looked really cool. They were just a nice straight brim that went around. But the hat itself was really tiny, and it didn't actually fit on the head, and come down and rest on your forehead. It actually was, you wore this thing on your head, and then the hat kind of attached to the top of it. And it's just so strange, but that was the, I guess you could say, fashion at the time.
Fashion, yeah.
Because it didn't seem like the hat itself was useful for keeping the sun off your face or anything like that, stuff that we think a hat's for, to me, growing up, working in ranches and stuff, a hat was, what we wore to save our life from that damn sun. And, it's just kind of funny, to see these little decorative hats that they had back then, and it's like, wow, that's a perfectly useless item.
Right.
But but what was funny is Korea, since that country had been occupied by Japan and China, and all these different, it seemed like it was always this country under turmoil, with all these people that wanted to conquer it. I think that the Korean swords are really uniquely cool, because you can see elements of Japanese influence, you can see elements of Chinese influence and all this kind of stuff, because most of the Japanese like the katana, when you see those, they yes, they were fashionable, they looked well made and stuff like that, but most of the time they didn't have like dangly things that come off, frilly things that hang off the end, because those are just for show. But the Korean swords would have those kind of things, like the dangly braids and stuff that come off the back end of it, that are just there to look good.
Right.
It was they, instead of having like the curved katanas, they'll have nice straight blades, and they also use like the Chinese double-edged swords. It'd be kind of fun to go and look at who invented those things, whether that stuff was invented in Japan, or if any of this stuff was actually invented in Korea, but they never get any credit for it because Korea was occupied most of the time. It'd be kind of fun to look into the history of that kind of stuff. But
it's like the Patriot, the end where the Frenchman comes out in that outfit.
Right.
If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die dressed well.
Right.
Right. It's like, and you look at the samurai, man. When they went to war, those outfits they had were just freaking spectacular.
Yeah. But sometimes I wonder, when it comes to like martial arts and stuff like that, it's kind of hard to go back and do any research on this stuff, because you're going so far back in time. You wonder. I always wonder, when did man really start to study the science of beating the crap out of each other?
Killing.
Because martial arts, to me it would be a perfect vehicle to go back and look at who invented what.
I think there's that great book, The Fifth Profession. You ever read that book? That's a great book. That kind of talks about how it's about being a bodyguard.
Oh, okay.
The first profession, I think is, I can't remember what the first one, but you have killing, you have prostitution, you have
right.
bartering for goods, and then you have killing or something. I did killing twice.
Right.
Something, right? And then you finally get enough goods that you need protection, and that was the fifth profession, and it talks about bodyguards. It's by the guy who wrote The Bodyguard.
The movie?
Yeah. No. Or is it the guy who wrote Rambo? I can't remember now. It's gonna drive me nuts.
Anyway, but
I want to look it up.
Because I'm sure if you went back in time and you were trying to see who invented, whatever martial art or whatever, first of all, I'm sure you'd have countries arguing over the origins of stuff. Because I'm sure there's a lot of,
David Morrell. Yeah, that's the guy who wrote Rambo, right?
Hell if I know. Sorry.
Okay.
Don't know that one.
Come on, internet.
Yeah. So, man, we went through a few different topics there, huh?
What is going on? Why won't it? Sheesh. Yeah, he wrote Rambo.
Well, cool.
Boy, did that book go different than the movie.
Well, in the end, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rambo's supposed to die, and they actually filmed it.
Did they?
Yeah, they have the lost scene or whatever you want to call it, when Rambo dies.
At the hands of Troutman?
I don't remember how it.
In the book, he sneaks up behind him and blows his head off.
Troutman?
Yeah.
In
the book. He's able
so
to
it's kind of like the whole Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, kind of. Except for in that, that's a lot different. He puts him down.
Right.
But he puts him down in this too. But he literally, because he was a badass during World War II and Korea and that stuff. They don't talk about that as much in the book. He's supposed to be closer to their Vietnam age, but he's actually older. And yeah, he sneaks up behind him and just, because Rambo won't quit.
Right.
And it's not like in the movie. Over there, I could do $1 million helicopter.
Right. That was a really, really bad impression.
Hey.
But yeah. But I'm actually glad that they didn't do that, because I personally think that Rambo, I think that's what, the 4th in the series that he does, where they go to Thailand or what?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that is the best one.
That one's pretty good. The only problem is with Stallone with his collagen injected face.
Well, yeah.
But it's the only thing that takes me out of that movie. Other than that, though, it is cool.
He got so damn jacked in that movie as far as, his size. I mean, I don't know how much he was lifting, but he got so big. It was funny because there's a scene at the very end because he gets shot in the shoulder or whatever, and he's trying to hold his arm, and he physically can't reach his arm because his chest is so huge and his arms, and so he's like just barely grabbing it, and he's trying to work his fingers over to it like this, It's like, dude, you're way too big. But yeah. Well, I guess I should start reading chapter 7. I've promised everybody, well, the viewers that know me personally, which unfortunately I think that's pretty much what we got right now, is people that know us. But anyway, God, my glasses are terrible. Chapter 7 starts out, it's the prophecy is the title. So, we'll start on this. Lucius wakes the next morning and cautiously enters the front room, as not to disturb Jesse, who is asleep in one of the poofy chairs next to the unconscious Mikno. Mikno's eyes open as Lucius enters the room. Lucius opens his mouth to speak, but Mikno raises his hand, gesturing him to be silent, while glancing over at Jesse to make sure she is still asleep. Quietly, he stands up from his chair, walks to the front door, and slowly turns the knob, being careful not to make any noise. He waves to Lucius, gesturing for him to follow, and they both quietly exit. Mikno eases the door closed and walks quickly away from the house toward the side of the tavern. Once they're far enough away, Mikno begins to whisper, "Lucius, we must get you out of here." Lucius stares at him confused. "Why? I thought this was the safest place." "I've discovered people here who are working against us," Mikno explains. "Who?" Lucius asks, glancing around nervously. "I'm not sure who. We must get out of here. I don't trust anyone," Mikno says as he glances around, surveying the landscape. "Where would we go?" "We must go back to the castle. We'll be safe there." "The castle is 2 days away, and we don't have a horse. We have to travel as quietly as possible. We can't be seen on the roads. We must travel through the woods, avoiding any people we see." "Come on, let's go," Mikno says, walking quickly towards the woods. Lucius follows as close to Mikno as he can as they weave through the trees. Leaves crunch with their every step. They travel in silence for hours till Lucius's curiosity gets the better of him. "What happened to you? How did you get hurt?" "I was attacked by a group of warriors. They killed the guard I was traveling with. I was captured, but was able to escape." "Did they ever say why they were attacking you?" "They didn't have to. I knew them. I thought they were friends." "Who was it?" "The warriors Jesse often employs. I'm not sure why, but I think Jesse is trying to kill me." Lucius stops abruptly, sliding slightly on the muddy forest floor. He stares perplexed at Mikno, confused by what he had just heard. "Why would Jesse try to kill you?" he asked. "I don't know. Maybe she doesn't want me to teach you. I don't know her reasons. I wish I knew her better," Mikno says as he grabs Lucius by the arm, forcing him to walk. Lucius jerks his arm free from Mikno. "Know her better? How long have you known her?" Mikno looks at Lucius as though he is trying to guess what to say. I've known her for a while. I was trying to court her." Lucius begins to slowly back away. "Who are you?" "What do you mean? It's me," Mikno says, advancing. "Who are your parents, then?" Lucius asks, increasing his pace backwards. Mikno smiles as he increases his pace towards Lucius. You're a clever boy, but where do you think you're going? He says, looking around at the trees. Lucius stops and looks around at the trees. The branches of the trees hang low under the weight of hundreds of large owls perched on them. It sounds like a thunderstorm as the owls take flight from the tree. They swoop down at Lucius as he runs through the trees. He can hear the beating of wings closing in on him. The screech rings into his ears as one of the owls grabs hold of the back of his shirt. He falls to the ground and slides to a stop, letting the owls pass over him. He pushes himself into a kneeling position and wipes the mud from his hands onto his shirt. He no longer hears the sounds of wings, but as he looks up, he can see he is surrounded by a group of unclothed figures. "Who are you people?" he asks. "We are the Wood Watchers. We protect the world, and we need you to help. We need your help to save it from destruction," a female elf says as she walks over to Lucius and holds out her hand. Lucius stares up at the woman. Lucius stares up at the woman and stands up on his own, refusing to accept her help. "Where is Mikno?" he asks, staring at the crowd of muddy, naked elves who have completely surrounded him. "Mikno is safe. Take me to him." "I intend to. Please follow me," the woman says, as the other Wood Watchers change into hawks and fly away into the forest. Lucius follows the woman through the woods. "My name is Helena. I am the mother of the Wood Watchers. It is our duty to protect Mother Earth. But it has a powerful new enemy. The elemental magician forces the Earth to do his bidding, and the Earth is being violated every time this magic is used." "How can you prove the world is in any danger?" "I've never seen anything destroyed by Mikno." "Yes, I'm sure he wouldn't go out of his way to show you the damage. I thought you were smart enough to see for yourself. Look around, we stand in a hollow mountain. Do you think we found it this way?" Lucius looks up. The sky and the sun are visible through the top of the mountain. "I see, but your people came here because they were trying to prevent war. Would a war have destroyed the Earth like this? Is the death of the people anything compared to destroying our Mother Earth? People die, the Earth lives on, giving a home to our future generations. But if the war would have continued, there would be no future generations left. The Earth is more important." "It's more important than saving lives?" Lucius asks, surprised to hear such a response. "If we continue to alter the Earth with elemental magic, it will destroy the Earth and all life on it. We are saving all life." "What about people who dig a hole? Are they destroying Mother Earth?" "I know this is hard to understand. Let me explain. When a person uses elemental magic, they use the energy of their body to manipulate the earth, the energy of the earth. The earth is alive with this energy. It flows through it, giving it life, and in essence, giving us life. When a magician controls the energy of when a magician controls the energy, some of it is lost. Over time, it will destroy the earth," Helena replies. "Is that what is written in your prophecy?" Helena turns to Lucius. "You know of the prophecy?" she asks. "I've heard about it, but I've never actually heard it." "The prophecy doesn't mention anything about the stealing of the Earth's energy. The prophecy talks about the death of the planet, but not in that way. Here, let me tell you it." Helena pauses and then continues. "A man born of two races, possessing the power of the elements and the power of life and death, will destroy the earth. The warning signs will be a plague, a death dressed in black. He will bring all the wars together, and the world will no longer feel peace. The world will be consumed by war, and all shall perish." Lucius hesitates for a moment while he thinks about what he just heard. The first line is a man born of two races. Does that mean some sort of half-breed? Yes, we believe it to be an elf. An elf and a human cross. We believe it to be an elf because it will possess the powers of elemental magic. So why do you assume it will be a human? Lucius asked. The history of your people is violent, Helena begins, but is cut short by Lucius. That's what I thought. Micno and the king were right. You hate me because I'm human. Lucius, please let me explain. Don't bother. Your prophecy is what Micno said it to be. You base your beliefs on something that can never be true. I came here to find a way to bring back my mother. I was searching for someone with power of life and death, but Micno told me no one has that power. Not yet. I can see your rage has corrupted your better judgment. I will no longer waste time arguing with you. It's time for you to make a choice. Will you stop your pursuit of this magic? Lucius's answer can be seen in his eyes. He doesn't believe the words of his kidnapper, and he doesn't like to be forced into any decision. The question is not a choice between magic and a normal life, but between the Wood Watchers and Micno. I need to see Micno, he declares. If that's what you wish, then you will join him, Helena pronounces, grabbing Lucius forcefully by the arm and pulling him quickly through the forest. Lucius struggles against the elf woman, but she seems to possess the strength of 10 bears. They reach a small clearing in the forest, and Lucius spots a tree with a man-shaped leather bag dangling from a chain. He knows immediately it is Micno, not needing to see the face of the person inside of the bag. He struggles against Helena. Micno, it's me, it's Lucius. Are you okay? He screams to the leather bag, trying to break Helena's grip. Helena releases Lucius, and he stumbles forward, trying to regain his balance, but falls short of his goal, landing face down in front of the hanging figure. He begins to stand to his feet, and he realizes now he is face to face with a tiger. The tiger's breath pushes Lucius's hair out of his face with every breath it takes. We can't just let you go where you like, Lucius. You're a prisoner of these. You're a prisoner, and these are your guards, Helena says from somewhere behind Lucius. Lucius cautiously stands, looking around. He's surrounded by over 50 large cats of various types. Is Micno alive? He asked, choking back all of his fear. I don't know, Lucius. I never check on him. I have to be going now. I wish we could have convinced you. Now we have no choice. Goodbye, Helena says, petting one of the big cats. She turns her back to Lucius and leaps into the air, changes into a large black raven, and flies away into the woods. The large cats start a slow advance on Lucius, a low rumble coming from them with each breath they take. Micno, he screams at the hanging bag, which is just out of his reach and blocked by a humongous tiger. He hears the roar of the lion as it lunges at him from behind. Lucius leaps forward to avoid the lion's mighty paw. Its claws tear into the flesh on Lucius's back. The momentum from his jump and the added strength of the lion's hit sends him sailing over the top of the tiger in front of him. He slams to the ground under the hanging leather bag. Micno, he screams again, kicking with both feet at the bag. A black panther leaps at Lucius, but hits the bag as it swings away from Lucius, powered by his kick. The panther sinks his claws in the bag and holds tight as it begins its backward swing. Lucius rolls to one side to avoid a pouncing tiger, but as the leather bag swings back over the top of Lucius, it connects solidly with the tiger, sending it flying into some of the other cats. The panther is still clinging to the bag. Uses the opportunity to release itself and drop onto Lucius, who is now located directly below. The panther yanks its claws out of the bag, leaving large gashes in the leather as it drops away, landing directly on Lucius and pinning him to the ground. The panther bites into Lucius's shoulder, and he screams in pain as his flesh is torn away. Directly under the bag, a small funnel of wind begins to swirl. Leaves rustle and twirl around each other as the intensity builds, forming a funnel of dust which engulfs the bag. The panthers back away from Lucius, unsure who is controlling the wind. The bag spins wildly in place, and the chain holding the bag grows more and more inflexible. The chain snaps, and the bag swirls into the air, ripping and sending fragments in all directions. Only Micno remains carried by the wind of the twister. The cats roar in protest, leaping towards Lucius to finish him off, but are scattered as the twister moves around Lucius. Micno floats down softly to the earth. How many are cats and how many are wood watchers? Micno asks as the ground around him begins to burst loudly and tremble. 20 of the cats retreat and scatter into the woods. The remaining 30 cats transform into their true woodwatcher form. One of the unclothed male elves steps forward. You are still outnumbered. Your tricks will not help against so many. Would you have me lie down and die? Micno asks. Die you will, the woodwatcher declares as he and the other morph into different creatures: snakes, bears, lions, tigers, wolves, owls, vultures, all manner of predator convert. What?
Oh my.
All manner of predators converge on Micno. Micno retreats into the tornado and finds Lucius safely inside the eye of the tornado. Lucius, are you okay? Micno asks, kneeling down. I think so, Lucius says, squeezing his shoulder, trying to stop the bleeding caused by the panther bite. Micno tears the bottom of his robe off and presses the cloth to the shoulder wound. This will help, he declares. Lucius struggles against the pain to talk. How are we going to get out of here? Don't worry, others will see the twister. Help will come. How long can you hold this tornado? Lucius asks. I said not to worry, Micno declares, too afraid to say he can only hold the tornado for another few minutes. The woodwatchers wait patiently outside the whirlwind in their elven form, not wanting to waste any of their energy. Lucius, I have an idea. I'm going to cover you in an earth mound that will protect you from the woodwatchers when they attack. The mound will be more stable than the twister. What about you? I will fight them off. If you die, I will die when my air runs out or when the woodwatchers dig me out. I must, Lucius. My energy is running out, and it is the only way, Micno says as the ground begins to swallow Lucius. He disappears into the ground and the tornado dies away. Micno is left standing in the middle of 30 woodwatchers. They charge toward Micno as elves, but change into animals mid-stride. A black bear reaches Micno first. Leaping through the air with a mighty roar, Micno crouches ready to evade, but the bear screams in pain as an arrow streaks from the wood and pierces its eye. It falls mid-leap. A lifeless male woodwatcher's body hits the ground. The woodwatchers stop their advance and turn to face their new threat. In a small grove of trees, Paul reloads another arrow into his longbow. In front of him are the twin dwarves, and they have their weapons in hand and are crouched ready to charge. The woodwatchers split apart. 10 of them continue toward Micno's. The others focus on the 3 warriors. The twin dwarves, Stellic and Stern, charge into an advancing herd of predators, their metal claws ready. Braids of red hair flapping behind them like banners in the wind. A tiger leaps at Stellic and he counters, slashing up the length of its torso. The belly explodes as the 3 blades pierce through the lifeless body of a woodwatcher, and then the lifeless body of a woodwatcher hits the ground, intestines spilling out of the 3 vertical slashes. The blood-soaked Stellic continues into the fray. Stern leaps onto the chest of a bear, plunging his metal claws into its throat, causing it to fall backwards. Stern clutches the hair on its chest and holds tight as it splashes to the ground. He yanks his claws from the throat of a naked male elf and scans the group for his next victim. A few yards away, Mikno is dealing with the... I hate it when I do that. A few yards away, Mikno is dealing with with problems of his own. The Woodwatchers continue their attack on him. He evades the paws and claws of beasts as arrows fly from Paul's bow. As the predators close on Mikno, Paul's arrows strike them down. Soon, 5 dead Woodwatchers are at Mikno's feet, and the remaining 5 regroup, rushing to attack Paul, but they never make it close enough. Paul's arrows finish them off mid-stride. The twins are still in the fight. Stellic is mounted on one of the tigers and is thrusting his claws into the back of the beast's skull. The panther leaps upon him, forcing him to the ground as the panther bites into his forearm. Stern is cautiously circling a huge brown bear, but is more cautious than the other Woodwatchers. It takes its time, sizes up Stern, looking for the right place to attack. The bear swipes his paw at Stern and moves into its range. Stern slashes back with his claws. The bear howls in pain as his paw falls to the ground. A handless Woodwatcher runs away into the woods. Stellic struggles with the panther on the ground, but the struggle is cut short by an arrow from Paul. The arrow pierces through the forehead of the panther, and Stellic pushes the body of a dead Woodwatcher off of himself. A snake bites into the back of Stellic's leg and begins to curl itself around his body. Stellic slashes upwards away from his body, severing the snake into pieces. Pieces of Woodwatcher hit the ground, spilling blood and the chunks onto the lifeless bodies. A lion leaps at Stellic from behind, and Stern intercepts it midair. Stern pulls his claws from the lion's neck and stands next to his brother, staring at the remaining Woodwatcher beasts. Paul joins the twins with his sword drawn and ready. "Do you wish to fight? Or do you wish to continue this fight?" he asked the Woodwatchers. The Woodwatchers look over Mikno, who is now raising Lucius from the ground. "We will stop you from teaching the boy. Nothing will protect you," the Woodwatchers scream, leaping into the air, turning into vultures and flying away. Paul sheathes his sword and strolls over to Mikno. "Vultures, how appropriate," he says, looking down at Lucius. "We need to get him back to the tavern," Mikno says, picking up Lucius from the ground. Paul whistles loudly, and 3 horses come galloping out of the woods. "Here, take my horse," he says to Mikno. "We'll ride the others," he says, pointing at the twins who are looking over the lifeless Woodwatchers. Paul hands Lucius to Mikno after he mounts the horse. Paul mounts one of the other horses and leads the last over to the twins. "Come, you two. Woodwatchers have no treasure to collect. Mount up, let's go." When they reach the tavern, Jesse carries Lucius from the horse and dashes into the tavern. The tavern is empty except for Bogreet, Izzy, and the dancers, who are all gathered around the door. Jesse lays Lucius on one of the tables. "Get me water and towels, and someone get me a needle and thread." Bogreet lumbers through the room and out into the kitchen to fetch the water. Hadassah sprints upstairs for the needle and thread. Mikno, Paul, and the twins burst into the tavern. "Will he be okay?" Mikno asks Jesse. "I just need to stop the bleeding," Jesse answers as Hadassah sprints back down the stairs with the needle and thread. Bogreet rumbles back into the room carrying a huge bucket of water and holding some towels in his mouth. "Here you go," he says, clenching the towels in his teeth. Jesse cleans Lucius's wound with a towel dipped in the water. "What happened? Who did this?" Jesse asked. "It was the Woodwatchers. They kidnapped me last night," Mikno answers. "Last night you were here, passed out in my house," Jesse declares. "That wasn't me. It must have been one of the Woodwatchers pretending to be me." That explains why you wouldn't come around. If you stayed unconscious, you wouldn't have to answer any questions, Jesse says, as she finishes cleaning off the last of the blood. Hadassah hands her the needle and thread, and Jesse begins to sew the wounds closed. We have another problem. The wood watchers aren't through. They will be back probably tonight. We have to prepare for another attack, Paul declares. Fine, Paul, you attend to that. I need to concentrate on this, Jesse says as she continues sewing Lucius's shoulder. Paul looks over at Bogreet. Bogreet, go next door and fetch the guards. Bogreet nods in agreement and rushes out the front door. There are no windows on this floor, but on the second floor we have to close and secure the shutters. Paul orders the dancers. The dancers all scramble up the stairs into their rooms. Stern, gather all my arrows. Stern runs out the door. Bogreet and 3 guards rush into the tavern. The sky is full of large birds, and they are heading this way, Mac, the lead guard, announces. And that is the end of chapter 7.
That's not doing well.
Chapter 7, it's kind of funny when you're writing, one of my favorite things to write in books is conversation. But I recently had somebody, another writer, she asked me, if I knew how to write combat, because she's not any good at it. And, like chapter 7 there, it had a lot of action and combat, and I think I'm okay at it. When I edit this, I still haven't gone through the whole process of editing it. I think I might add to some of those fights, though.
Oh yeah, I think you need a little more description of what's happening.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't mind a little more of
blood and guts.
No, not the blood and guts, but like descriptive words of he reeled heavily on the seal. Just
right.
To kind of make you really think of, anime does some really cool stuff sometimes.
Who?
Anime.
Like
the cartoons and stuff. Yeah. They do a thing like, they show just a character pivot, but they'll show the foot pivot.
Right.
And they show how the force of that, and it's like,
right.
The shorthand of that. And then you don't have to see anything else. All you have to do is see that foot, and you know what's happening, and it's fascinating. And sometimes some descriptive words of stuff like that would be cool.
Yeah, it's like there's I'm trying to go back to.
I don't know what to do with his.
Because all this stuff with the twins, because one of the things that I want to have the readers know is how badass these twins are.
Right.
Because I wanted to describe I mentioned it before in one of the previous chapters about how dwarves are really dangerous inside fighters, meaning that when they get in close, when they get past the guard of a larger fighter, once they get inside, they can tear you up. But like here in this paragraph, the twins are still in the fight. Stellic is mounted on one of the tigers and is thrusting his claws into the back of the beast's skull. That's descriptive and stuff, but a panther leaps upon him, forcing him to the ground as the panther bites into his forearm. Stern, and then it switches to Stern as cautiously circling a huge brown bear, but is more cautious than the other wood watchers. It takes its time, sizing up Stern and looking for the right place to attack. So I want to add more to like that paragraph. You know,
Right.
I mean, with that paragraph, you get the idea, you know, of yes, they won, but you know, it's just like you know, you were mentioning anime when you one of the things that I always had trouble with anime is a lot of times it seemed like they were too scared. The artist was too scared to actually do the actual fight.
Right.
Because they'll just, you know, they'll have two guys running at each other with swords drawn, and then all of a sudden you'll see this blur of just a blur, and then it'll show the guy standing on the other side, and the other person will fall in half.
Right. Well, it has nothing really to do about that. What it's really about is money.
Right.
Is that little scene of them running,
Mm-hmm.
and then a slash is cheaper
Right.
than the actual. So,
Right.
but because of that, they created this style, and it's fascinating. I mean, but so he's on the back of that tiger, right? He's got his claws into
Yeah,
him.
and he's smacking it in the back of the head with it, or punching it.
Right. But what's not in there, what's like a Wolverine
Yeah.
jumps down on the back of a deer,
Mm-hmm.
and he shoots at the back of the neck, you know. But I could, you know, what would Wolverine do?
Right.
Constant, you know, just digging his claws repeatedly in and out, in and out. You know, that
Right.
would make that be, oh gosh, that guy's vicious.
Yes.
Instead of just sinking his claw, you know, you can imagine he's just, you know, just. I mean, if you wanted to get gory, eviscerating him down to the skeleton
Yeah.
or the neck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you don't have to say that, but maybe repeatedly
Mm-hmm.
bashing in there. There's something about that
Right.
would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then the other guy circling the thing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then doing what would be the craziest thing to do? Dive and roll into the thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? He dives, rolls into it, comes thrusting up underneath it. As the thing tries to grapple down into it, he can't bite down into it, but his claw sinks into him. Stern yells, but doesn't give any strength up.
Right.
And then just opens them up from the inside, you know?
Right.
That would be kind of cool. That would really show these, because then at the end of it,
Right.
what we would be showing are these just two little dudes
Drenched in blood.
where all you see is the bright orange of their hair
Right.
to red.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they're just sitting there like, yeah, what's up now?
Mm-hmm.
Let's have an ale.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they come walking into the bar. They're kind of, you can have some white marks on them, you know, and they're sitting there. And
Look. Yep. But yeah,
so,
Paul's a badass with that bow.
right.
Yeah, he's a badass with a sword too, though.
So then there's things there to kind of embellish. I wouldn't go too crazy Legolas style.
Right.
But Aragorn was pretty good with his bow
Mm-hmm.
in those movies, and
Right. Well, I picture Paul to be more. Do you remember? Did you ever see that stupid movie, which was a spinoff of another stupid movie, The Scorpion King?
yeah.
When
But I can barely remember it.
When he would, you know, because his preferred weapon in that movie was a bow, but it was so dang strong that nobody else but him could, you know, and that's what I picture as, you know, this bow that will literally punch through a tree and kill somebody on the other side. You know, something, you know, that strong or tough.
Yeah, that'd be cool. See, if I was animated, I would have like Paul's been in that world, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost like he got his arm enchanted. I know it sounds goofy, but you know what I mean. When you're in that, so I remember listening to one of those guys critique for editors and stuff, and he says, "Don't forget to. You don't want to play so much up to the audience that they're like, this is gonna happen because that's always what happens in fantasy or sci-fi. You know what I mean? But don't forget, they're looking for stuff to make it fantasy. You know what I mean? And that would be kind of something fantastical. Is that, and because of that, he can pull. That's what I liked about that movie, that show, Alucard.
The Dracula one.
Yeah, the Dracula one. Is he had those big old hand cannons, and they looked like just regular extended long slide 45s. But I remember the girl goes to try to pick it up, and she can't.
Right.
And it's like, well, what's the point? Well, those are god killers.
Right.
You know what I mean? The bullets are so powerful in them that the metal has to be so dense and powerful that only a quote unquote god could wield them. I love that shit. That's and they didn't you didn't even get to that until later in the episodes. You know, and it's like I love that stuff. I think that's fascinating. And that's the stuff that I keep drawing in and peppering in there every now and again. I mean, look at this. I mean, look how crazy this guy looks, right? I mean, this is ridiculous. So I've tried to put. Oh, yeah, I'm in the way, huh?
No, so, I can see the other one too.
So I'm trying to mix like Asian and Greek armor together.
That arm thing is definitely Greek. Yeah. That's cool.
This is like a Greek breastplate with these are kind of like for bow and arrow.
Yeah. Things
that Japanese would wear.
Yep.
And I wanted to do some more. Wanted to figure out something to do with his pants and stuff. That'd be really cool. Some more armor plate maybe down on the side here or something, and then something that drops down in front of him, like a little armored skirt.
Thing is you gotta ask yourself. You know, Lucius. So far, I mean, I can't think of any point where I've actually given him a weapon. You think he would ever use a weapon?
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of it. I mean, so for me, and I've done this in the comic. I've tried doing this a couple of times. Like, you can wield the stuff as far as you can, but then there's things idea of, well, why couldn't he forge a super cool? He could forge a weapon.
Yeah.
And he could.
Because I mean, imagine how strong of a blade that you could make if you could control the heat perfectly.
Right. He could control the heat. He can control what elements he uses, what he draws out to forge the blade. But he could be doing that almost on the fly. Yeah. Then there's times when you're fighting. Why couldn't he forge? I don't know. I mean, a dirt knife or something, or an iron knife out of dirt, or he's. The whole point of the elements is to fight with the elements.
Right.
I think Naruto and stuff like that, and Airbender, they were kind of ingenious with some of the stuff. Naruto would spin air so fast that it became blades.
Right. Which is, if you were to take a pneumatic air thing, you can actually break skin with those things.
Mm-hmm.
Arrows.
Well, and could he petrify wood? Can he create a petrified dagger or spear or something that he could? It's just the idea that it's constantly forming things and using it, forming it, using it, forming it, using it.
Right.
And
Yep, true.
You kind of open it up to sky's the limit. With if you could think it up,
yeah,
you could pretty much do it. The only difference, it's like spoilers. So if you haven't seen episode 16 of Mandalorian, go watch it now. But Luke at the end of there, the last droid that he gets in front of.
Mm-hmm.
he reaches out and force crushes it. Just folds it up like a tin can. And I was watching all these reaction of people, and they're like, "Oh, that's a dark side force." And it's like, no, it's not. Force is the force.
Right. It's how you use it.
It's how you use it and who you use it against that makes it
good or bad.
Good or bad. Even force lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Force lightning isn't an evil thing. It was just something that they would use because it was maximum hurt.
Right. And
so most Sith would use it. You know, that doesn't make it bad.
Right.
You know,
right.
And so unless the forging of elements and doing things like that is like a no-no set down by the...
No, the only people that care about that kind of stuff is the Woodwatchers.
Right, but they have been controlling policy and stuff like that for 1,000 years, a couple thousand years before ruling classes got in. You know what I mean? I mean, just from what I've read in your story, it seems like that stuff could just be just ancient and built into the dojos,
right? That
are taught later. So when you talk about Mikno running a school, well, maybe that's something's taught in the school. I don't know. I'm just you that's something you could make as a rule, right?
It's definitely something that Mikno is fighting against, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's not just fighting against, but I mean, if that's, you know, just we don't do that. Well, why not? You know, you can imagine Lucius saying, "Well, why not?" Because we don't. Why not? Because
in a lot of ways, that is why Lucius becomes much more powerful than Mikno. It's like you said. It's the sky's the limit. It's it's the thoughts that come into your head. You know, I mean, if you can I do this? Can I do that? And for Lucius, the answer is yeah. I mean, he'll do anything. You know. So yeah, he's much more powerful than Mikno is, and then what makes Len even more powerful, later is Len actually discovers that new element, the death element, and all the crazy ass things you can do with that.
Right.
So yeah. Yep. That was a little bit of foreshadowing, huh? For all the people listening to the story.
Like, yeah, so it's just like, like I said, unless you make it a rule, like some of the other stuff, then...
Yeah, because when I first wrote the RPG, and when I was, because, we wanted to basically beta test it, and so I had a bunch of my friends, we played it, and basically the rules that I had set down as far as magic is the way that you become more powerful in the game was basically your energy would increase over time through meditation and practice, etc., and pretty soon, because like in the story, when you look at somebody's aura, a normal person, their aura is just this light that just kind of is just a little bit above their body, when you see their aura.
Is that you?
No, that was your son, I think.
Oh.
And as they get stronger, if you were to look at their aura, their aura starts to radiate from their body, and it becomes bigger and bigger, and they can change their aura into different shapes, and use it to manipulate other energies around them, and like the wind, etc.
Right.
And but that that was how I explained it in the RPG, how they got stronger. And so in the actual RPG, when you were manipulating energy, it was basically the volume of energy you could manipulate was how you would show that you were stronger, than another character or whatever. If you could, basically control, 50 gallons of water versus 10 gallons of water type of thing.
Right.
And so that's how I kind of explained it in the RPG. And so as you progress, pretty soon you were controlling larger and larger volumes of the element that you were trying to control. But just like you were saying, the players started thinking outside the box, and we're starting to figure out ways to even if they had just a little bit of power, or they could only control like a small volume, they were using their smarts to get over things like this one guy says, well, if I take fire and I focus it down to a small stream or a small beam, can I use that as basically a laser to shoot through somebody? I was like, yeah, sure.
Right.
Because
but there should be an offset to that, which is maybe it takes you longer.
Yeah, maybe.
Because that's how all that stuff works, right?
Right.
It's like, you get a big sword that does lots of damage, but it takes longer to wield it.
Right.
It's harder to wield it.
Right.
You have to be stronger, and stuff like that. So, sure, you can make a laser, but it takes a while to build up that energy.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you just build that into things, and this actually turned out kind of interesting.
I like it.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's but it's kind of fun, that like
What would Lucius
definitely thinking outside the box when it comes to this stuff.
Well, what would Mikno's family crest be?
Oh hell, I don't know. It would have maybe it would have some Asian influence in there.
Right, but I mean, would it be like the sun? Would it be? You think you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I don't know.
I was just thinking it'd kind of be cool to.
Why did you want to stick that on his helmet or something?
Well, it's goofy, but it's cool at the same time. And that's what I love about Asian stuff, especially the samurai stuff, is some of the they made whole societies off of Red Lotus Society.
Right.
It's like you're a flower.
Or my favorite from Marvel, The Hand.
The Hand. Right. Well, I mean that to me that's not so bad because a hand manipulates, it moves, it controls, but a flower, and not like a poisonous flower or this or that,
just a lotus,
but a pretty flower. And these are the guys of the society, right? The badasses and
yes,
our symbols of flower. Right? But so putting something on his on his headpiece that would be ridiculous, but
right.
it's honoring the house and
Yeah, it's funny because in that picture it almost looks like he has a night vision thing stuck on his head.
That's funny. Well, I didn't want to.
That's what you should do is just turn it into some modern technology.
Well, I didn't want to do that too soon because I wanted to leave somewhere for that to go later. I didn't want to spoil that just yet. I mean, we talked about it, the idea of giving him bionics and things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I thought that would be a cool reveal.
Right.
Like it'd be fun to see that for the first time and not have it spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
So.
The hell?
Yeah, it's just stupid.
I think that logo right behind him like that looks really sweet.
Yeah.
I need to go online and find those T-shirt places like that and have you send me a copy of that logo, because I definitely want to put that on a T-shirt, even if it's just for me for right now. That thing looks so damn cool.
Yeah, we are. Huh?
Can't help but have something on his forehead, huh?
I guess.
I think you should go with night vision goggles.
Huh?
And the robotic arm. That will be a complete blend of ancient technology and future technology. That looks kind of cool. I like how the horns are coming towards. Looks like Daredevil horns. Get him with cape. Do like the cape and Spawn and just have it get more and more ridiculously huge.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what I did. What I was doing. Oh gosh.
Oh jeez. Don't lose too much there.
I liked it too much.
Right.
Actually, what's kind of cool though, it'd be kind of interesting is to make this up like that and have it like this. I really need the bigger eraser.
I've often wondered that, that big epic fight where Lucius and Lynn finally have it out at the very end,
Mm-hmm.
It would be kind of fun to have them, going through all this, elemental magic, doing this and that and combining stuff and, like you said, shooting railroad spikes at each other that they just, manufactured from the iron in the ground and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, after all of that, Lynn gets kind of the upper hand and is about to, deliver some killing blow, and Lucius pulls out a gun and just shoots him. Bang!
But yeah, well, he could, if he's bionic, he could just turn into a gun.
Right.
But then be like, well, why didn't you just do that at the beginning?
Or
I hate that stuff.
Or one of my favorite things, one of the best scenes in RoboCop. By the way, I really do have that on one of my top 10 lists. I mean, RoboCop was a great movie when it first came out, and still, without CG, building models and stuff, that stuff holds up today better than any other old movie. Anyway, I digress. But I love that when, all that metal falls on RoboCop at the very end, and the guy's stabbing him with a big old iron spike, and he's twisting it around in him and stuff. And RoboCop, that hand and that spike comes out and he sticks it in it. But yeah, that's something that's supposed to access computers, as a weapon. It's fucking great. That's one of my. It's funny because I went back and I watched, RoboCop 2, and I still don't understand why that movie didn't do well. Because I thought it was really well done.
I can't even think of it.
Well, the third one sucked ass because they started using, more computer graphic type stuff and tried to turn him into more of a superhero that could fly around and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But the second one was great.
Huh.
It was, they invented another RoboCop, basically, and it was this big, huge monster of a machine, and
I think so.
that they stuck this bad guy's brain inside of it. And, but that machine that they invented, it had a rotary cannon on, and, it was a badass machine. And I don't know why it wasn't as popular as the first one.
What?
There's zombies outside the door. Tiny zombies.
No less destructive, though.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if they could actually hear that on the. I'm sure the microphone picked it up.
Parenting. I'm so tired.
Yep. But yeah, I think I write. I mean, even though I want to add more to the combat scenes, I think they got pretty good action in them.
Yeah, I think you could be a little more fantastical. A little bit, since it's fantasy and stuff like that. I think you don't have to hold back on that.
No.
You had them as tigers and bears and.
You want dragons and shit?
No, I mean that eventually comes. But I mean, they're tigers and bears. I mean, they should be ripping around at 30 miles an hour, and muscles are just, just tearing things apart. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be an easy thing to take care of, technically, unless they don't know how to fight. Unless they're just, I mean, you could be a tiger and not know how to move.
True.
I mean, he's 6'5", probably can't play basketball with the shit. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't dunk.
I mean, I've played against guys that are tall and they can't even shoot a basket. It's like, So just because you have the characteristic doesn't mean necessarily you know how to wield the weapon.
Right.
So maybe that's a reason why, but otherwise, if they do know how to wield the weapons, then they should be pretty damn formidable.
Right. Well, I just it's funny if you go back into the history of man when we were first inventing everything. Seems like a lot of our inventions were looking at a way an animal did something and then, doing that. Like, they noticed that the claws, dug into the earth fine, and
Right.
and that's how I think our brain started manufacturing tools and stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I was just thinking it'd be kind of fun. I'm always thinking with the story, but with that Helena character, that'd be funny if she turned into a bear, but she had like iron claws. You know what I mean, and stuff like that, and he's like, "You're cheating," and she's like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that's usually what bad people do, right?
The ends justify the means.
Yeah, it's okay for them to cheat, but not you cheat.
Right.
And it'd be, and all of a sudden, you have this bear with like, can you imagine a bear with iron claws and iron teeth and maybe an iron skeleton? It'd be Wolverine type thing, and she's in there, and all of a sudden you're like, you get slashed, and he's like, that barely hit me, but I'm cut to the rib. You're like, what happened? How'd that happen? He's like, wait a minute, you're cheating. And now the stakes are like through the roof, and
right.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes to, somebody goes to put a finishing blow on her, or definitely a fatal wounding blow. And all of a sudden a mound of dirt comes up and blocks it or something, or something like, and it's like, she's cheating. Yeah, that'd be
right.
That would be crazy, because we could have this boss battle there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be an interesting, because then it's like, well, if she was that formidable, what's Len got to be?
Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil the story or anything like that, but she gets to meet Len.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's the last thing she ever gets to do.
Right. So that'd be an interesting battle. I remember, so like in I don't know why Naruto's on my mind today, but so you have Naruto fight Sasuke, and Sasuke fights this one guy, but then that guy fights Orochimaru, and that fight was just, you just see this escalation, and it's just like, and then you're like, well, now how is he gonna beat him when he couldn't beat the middle guy in between him and the main that guy until he learns something to circumvent it? But it's like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool.
You know what the best part about Naruto and all these different animes are? They teach us stupid Americans how to pronounce things correctly.
Oh, yeah. Naruto?
Yeah, instead of
Naruto?
Naruto, or,
True.
all the lazy ways we say things. Karate. Anyway.
You know what really, it drives me nuts a little bit.
What?
Like whenever you have like a Spanish, they always have to pronounce the Spanish person's name with pure,
perfectly. Yeah.
But then any other that is butcher.
Well, that's the funny thing is
it's like
Right. Because they could, I mean, so many people, they say my last name Rasmussen. And that's not how you say it. It's
Right.
Rasmussen.
Rasmussen.
Right.
How about Larson? Lars N.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean? It's like nobody does that.
Right.
So, it just pisses me off. You know what I mean?
Right.
They put all these inflections on other things. And it's like, you know what? F you. It's Naruto. It's
Naruto.
It's Naruto. And how different is Naruto from Naruto? It's not.
Yeah, but it sounds cool when you say it correctly. And so does Larson.
Larson.
But yeah.
But
anyway, I don't know why that hit me.
What
the way
they
pronounce
stuff.
Yeah.
I guess.
So how much time have we killed?
2 hours.
Nice.
2 hours.
We're really good at this.
Don't know if anybody actually watched, but that's okay.
I know of quite a few that watch now.
I know they watch over on YouTube, but I don't know how many actually came and watched us. I thought I had this hooked up to where we were streaming on YouTube too, live, but
I don't know.
I guess I haven't been able to figure out how to do that.
Well, yeah.
I would like to.
If we did stream live, we could actually have super chats.
Yeah.
I love listening to people when they say that. Let's
chat
do a couple super chats.
Yeah, let's do some super chats at the end.
One of these days, it'll come. I'm sure.
Well, we got to get over there. We got to figure out how to.
And another problem.
Stream live.
Another problem we have is we don't have a set day. Because
Yeah.
my damn schedule changes all the time. If we had a set day where we were doing it, then people would probably, more likely to show up and watch it at the same time every time.
That's true. That would be the hard thing. I mean, we could always release it on a certain day at a certain time.
Right.
But to actually stream it
Right.
on a certain day at a certain time, that's tough right now.
I mean, I think that it's quite impressive that we actually have been delivering so far. We've been delivering it practically every week.
Pretty close.
At least one podcast every week.
Yeah, and then I've been
impressive.
Supplementing here and there with some drawing stuff, and we might migrate. I talked to him about setting up a YouTube channel, but I could try setting up a second one that's just for the podcast.
I don't know. I mean, eventually I'd like to, on our website, I'd like to have, our website is, burntOutStudios.com. Anyway.
I should put that on there, on a banner.
But I would eventually like to have all this kind of stuff archived on the website type thing, where people can just link over to it and watch whatever. Read.
Yeah, I don't know.
Read what we've got done so far. And then also have it, to where, because right now you can go on the website and you can actually see the first 23, 24 pages or whatever of the Shatteredtime. But I'd also like to have that same type of setup for, our other projects like A Town Called Liberty. Because we got quite a bit of the Town Called Liberty, the first comic book done practically. So, give people stuff to, read, etc.
Yeah, we pretty much have. We could have a solid 10, 15 years of work ahead of us if we could just get some monetization.
Right, and then
would help.
You know, I was thinking like the other day when you were talking about, you know, having me write little blurbs for these, you know, pictures that you do. I was thinking, well, shit, you know, like Marvel has an encyclopedia of all of their characters, and I was thinking, well, hell, we could do the same thing. I could, you know, you could do a picture, and then I could do a background story of
background, yeah,
and you know.
Well, I mean,
an encyclopedia of Shattered Time.
Yeah. Well, what you could do is doesn't D&D in the books isn't it the character, then it has all their power rank levels and blah 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 blah, right. And then it has a whole descriptive thing about the character
for the RPG, yeah,
and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
So it would be like you're setting up the card game,
right? Or, yeah, the
card for each of the characters,
right?
At the same, you know what I mean? That would be kind of really cool.
Yeah.
And then, because we could, as we're doing all this, we could be compiling and building this, that we could have the eight books and then a 9th companion encyclopedia would be freaking cool.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's actually cool.
Plus, it would give you something to do with all these pictures you keep drawing. Because over time, we're going to have quite the collection of.
Right. And I'm going to put this out there again. If people have gotten to this part in the podcast, we thank you, appreciate you. Hit the like button, subscribe, share, please forward this.
Yes.
And share it on all your social media. We would really appreciate that. Yep. And if you know somebody who's an artist who, you know, is decently good but can't figure out what they're doing, what they want to do right now, or can't figure out how to get traction. That's kind of like sometimes how I feel. I feel like I can draw halfway decent. I can make some cool things, but I just can't get traction. I can't just get those big numbers to start following me. Maybe we could collaborate together. If you wanted to paint the stuff that I've been drawing, you know, think about it. If you know somebody like that, or if you're that person, Phillips.bruce1@gmail. Drop me a email. Get hold of Marty at Marty.
Well, I think our Yahoo.com.
Yeah, it should be.
But I think our
I know mine's down at the bottom of Twitch. Well, it's on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, but don't we also have it on the Burnout Studios?
Yeah, it's on the website too at Burnout Studios.
BurnoutStudios.com, which hasn't been touched in a while.
Yeah.
But at least we're paying for it, so that's cool.
I just need to come and just spend some time on it. That stuff hurts my brain.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
why.
Not the funnest thing in the world.
Well, the dumbest thing is it's just plug and chug now. It's just like drag and drop. It's not really hard. It's just I don't know. But like I said, if you know somebody who just can't figure out how to get going and might want to, you know,
color a comic book.
Yeah, color comic. Send them our way because
we got a comic book.
Because it might be just something match made in heaven that just kind of opens both of our careers up. And get us going.
And going on that same line, we're doing the graphic novel, which is separate from the stuff that I've actually been reading, because for those of you that have already watched the early shows, I started writing this as a novel for regular novels, and I rewrote it as 8 graphic novels. I'm still in the process of I want to, because I want to do the 4 novels anyway, because I think it would be cool to have it in both formats, because also the graphic novel really isn't the same as the 4 regular novels. What I was going to say is I'm still looking for an editor.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to help a guy edit, that'd be great. Because
we need both of them edited.
It's boring as hell to edit something on your own if you've ever tried it. Because one of the things that we've discovered in doing this podcast is every time I read a chapter in the first book, I'm editing stuff in my brain as I'm reading it, thinking of stuff I need to add, thinking of stuff I need to do, because there's a lot of, because the way that I write, I usually write dialogue first, and there's so many lines in this to where it's just a line of dialogue, and I know who said it, but you might not know that in the book, because I haven't added, Stern says, as he thrusts a pipe into his, eye or something, I always go back and I add that stuff later. That's why I can't write. I have to use a computer when I write. I can't use a typewriter or a pen and paper like, so many people say, oh, I can only write on paper. It's like, well, no, I can't write with anything but a computer, because I have to go back in and add all the scene.
I know. I found that I gotta write the for me to actually get stuff written.
Mm-hmm.
I use my iPad to hand write.
Right, and then convert.
And then convert it to text.
Yep.
Because if I type it,
I
will actually forget the last part.
What you're about to write?
Oh, I'll think. I can sit down and I can think of a great paragraph. I'll go to write it, and I'll forget the last 2 sentences. If they have specific wording, it's like, oh, that was really awesome phrasing, turn of phrase and stuff. Like, what was? And I'll forget it. But I can write it fast enough that I'll remember it and I'll get it down. And then, but then I was having the stall of typing it because I typed so slow that I didn't want to convert it. But I found that I can convert it writing it and then turn it to the text and have it nice and neat. And it's like, all of a sudden I wrote the first full chapter of that other book, the Rat's Nest that I was doing, and there it is. It's like, boom.
Yep.
And then I looked at it and I started trying to map out pages for it and realized that's almost a full book right there.
Yeah. No.
And I still have 7 more chapters.
Right.
And I'm like, so there's 8 books right there. But I wanted it one book to be just the one story, and to be just.
It happens.
Yeah, but it's like, so now I got to think of it. So then if I'm gonna do, I mean, I can, but it's like, so if I did a book a year, I don't have 64 years to do the whole thing that I wanted to do, because like I said, I wanted to do the first 8 albums of Black Sabbath, and I can't do that if I did it like that, and then it's like, well, do I break up the books? But then you're breaking up the album. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's like, son of a biscuit. I'm caught in this thing now, and then I want to start the second book at a certain spot.
Right.
But
the story's too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's And it's like, well, what can I cut out of it? Oh. What I can do, I can make scenes a little bit shorter. Mm-hmm. And there are times when I've been able to like make it smaller, you know, like it's like something's like this long and then something's like this.
Right.
But it's like, it's still pretty damn long.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So, I think what's going to become my friend is exposition. I'm going to have to use more exposition to explain what I would have drawn in like 4 or 5 panels in the one. And just kind of tell you what is happening. And then you will play the rest of it out in your brain. But, because otherwise, so I'm like, oh, I want, because when I write, I think of the scene,
mm-hmm.
and then I write it, and it's like, because that's cool, I want to see all that, but then it's like, it takes up too many pages.
Mm-hmm.
It takes up too many pages.
Right. And then what really pisses you off is when you go to convert that book into a movie or whatever, suddenly that thing that you had thought that was going to be, you know, hundreds and hundreds of pages have been shortened down into a 15-minute movie.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Shit.
Well, you can see so much.
Right.
And so much happens, you know. Talking happens very fast.
Right.
And you're like, son of a biscuit.
Yeah.
Well, that's like your novel. Mm-hmm. I'd almost say like they're almost 4 short stories.
Could be. I mean, they're
because technically, I mean,
they're long, but not
that long. They're really not that long.
Right.
I mean,
because to be considered a novel, I can't remember right offhand. I think you have to be over 400 pages or something like that. To be a novella, you know, it can be shorter than that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, technically, as I'm editing, I'm sure it's going to grow. Because there's stuff, like I said, that I need to add in there.
Yeah.
Where it has just one line of dialogue, it needs to have a bunch of stuff inserted. But, sometimes I wonder if I'm going to, each book, if it's going to be a novel or a novella or whatever, which I don't really care, because I'm one of those people that, when somebody asks, well, how long does a story need to be? I'm the kind of person that says, however long it needs to be. But then you ask somebody like Stephen King, who writes these god-awful, encyclopedia books, it's like, okay, because sometimes when you read his stuff, like when I read The Stand, there was just so much stuff added in there, flashbacks and, developing these different characters that would die in the very next scene. It's like, why did you tell me their entire backstory if you were just going to kill them off in the very next scene? It's like, if you made this into a movie, you probably wouldn't even include that character at all. And yes, lo and behold, when they made the movie, they didn't include that character at all. It's like, come on.
Right. I even try to think about how do I take the story I have, but then interject the other albums within that story.
Right.
Stretching it out. I'm like, I don't even know if I can do that properly, because it's a great overarching story,
mm-hmm.
but I don't want to lose the story and all the other things,
mm-hmm.
But the whole idea of it is just to be able to change it up, and this story will be this, and then this one will be a whole different genre like type thing over here, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, maybe this one is a train heist, and then we move all the way over to a rescue or protect, you know what I mean? Just having fun, just switching it up. But
yeah.
I mean, between that, we have so much work to do.
So yeah,
I get a little overwhelmed sometimes. So I'm thinking, what to start, what to do, and then I sit down trying to pace out pages, and it's like, Because it'd be different just to draw, but pacing is so important in the comic that
Right.
it's like, oh, I want to show this, but then that'll push this off to the next page, which will then, no, that can't work because, you know, the end of a page has to almost be like you're going to commercial break. So you need something to make people go, ooh, I want to turn the page.
Yep.
Ooh, I want to turn the page. And so, and then you don't want to show something over there that's too cool, so you won't read this page over here. And it gets,
Yeah.
and then you change stuff and you think about it, and so.
And then you become us.
And then you become us kind of stuck. That's why when sometimes you just gotta just throw it down and live with it.
Yep.
And that's,
But you know,
sort of getting to.
that's you know, that's with anything. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure everybody out there has watched a movie, and as you're watching it, you go, I would have done this. Or I would have went this way with the story. Or I would have went this way with the story. And it's like, yeah, the guy who made that movie, who wrote everything down, probably had all those same thoughts. And at the end of the day went, fuck it, this is it. You know? So yeah, there's no surprise bad guy that you would have made this person the bad guy, you know, and it was all a dream sequence type thing, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, the writer decided, nope, screw that. This is the story.
We watched Wonder Woman.
Oh, I haven't. I've heard only blah reviews about it, and yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was kind of.
And I heard something from my ex-wife's new husband. He said that they added some political stuff to it.
Well, it was supposed to be. I went in understanding that it's supposed to be like supposedly Pedro Pascal's character is supposed to be Trump-esque, you know, but he wasn't. At least I didn't see the parallel. I could see a lot of other crazies out there.
Wasn't it?
Thinking it is, but
wasn't there a? I mean, wasn't this set back in time?
Yeah, in '84.
The fuck does Trump have to do with 1984?
Greed.
Okay. So his character was a business guy that owns hotels?
No.
No.
Exactly. I mean, he was supposed to be a greedy business person. You're supposed to equate that to Trump.
Did he at least grab her by the pussy?
No. He didn't even do that. He was a gentleman.
That's so stupid.
It was. And whatever somebody thought that they thought they were seeing with that was not, but...
So they're trying to read more into it than
the other thing I wanted to do is I haven't done it yet, but I wanted to go back with the first movie and see if at the beginning of it, that if it says directed by Patty Jenkins, because I notice this one, it was a Patty Jenkins film. And I almost wonder if she got too big of a head. You know, because that's a statement, right? And I almost wonder if she tried doing way too much stuff, whereas the first one had a very tight kind of, except for at the end when she kind of does it here too. Oh, I can do this now, and it's like, oh shit. But I was like, that's so stupid. I've heard the reviews and like, oh, but she does that in the comics, you know, and blah blah blah. It's like, well, let her trial and error how to do it, not just, I can do it now. That's stupid. I hate that.
So what was this?
Flying. So
Wonder Woman can fly?
yeah, so in the comics and in the cartoons, they've made it to where Wonder Woman can fly on her own. She doesn't need the invisible jet.
What happened to the old invisible jet thing?
Yeah. So, you know.
I mean, I know that it's been a long time since I read anything DC.
Yeah, she eventually can fly now. So in there,
wow.
Steve Trevor tells her it's nothing about, it's about riding the wind, you know, and learning how to, and she has to get somewhere quick. So she lassos an airplane and pulls herself way up in the sky, you know, she's shooting across, and she remembers that, and she goes, it's just riding the wind. And then she lassos something else, and all of a sudden she's flying, and then she puts out like Superman. See, I'm flying just like Superman. It's like, oh, come on.
Wow.
Really? I can. Yeah, it's like.
Because you know when they first
at least with Peter Parker,
you know when they first invented Superman,
bam, 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 off the walls, bam, off the walls, bam. Then all of a sudden he's swinging, bam, into those walls,
right.
Swings, bam, and then he's swinging and whoa, just barely missed. Well, I just barely. Right. And then all of a sudden he's zoom, zoom. And you're like, yeah, he learned how to do that. It wasn't.
Right.
'Cause science. But and now she's flying.
But what's really funny is, you know, when they first drew Superman couldn't fly.
No, he
could just jump.
Leaped over tall buildings in a single bound.
Right.
Faster than a locomotive. He's only faster than a locomotive. Able to lift
yeah, I don't
heavy objects?
No, I don't
No, it's able to lift something. Faster than a locomotive. Able to lift tall buildings in a single bound. Yeah, well, they've gradually, I mean, and then eventually in that stupid, well, not stupid, I thought the movie was great up until, it's the way these movies go. They go up until, right? They're great up until.
Right.
Superman Returns was great up until he lifted a planet with kryptonite in it. I'm sorry. Before that, you showed just a little bit of kryptonite, bring him to his knees.
Right.
He gets shivved, broken off into him. That almost kills him. But now I'm gonna lift the whole planet with it. Yeah, fuck that. You know. It's like with the first Wonder Woman. I hated that with all of a sudden, my dad was Zeus, so he can control lightning. I must be able to do it too. I can do it now. That's like, oh,
yeah.
I hate that stuff. I hate it. It reminds me of Deadpool. That's just lazy writing.
Yeah.
You know, and that was what half this movie was. I think was just lazy writing.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because you hear different people talk about it, you know, and it's like one guy that you think would trash on it loves it, and one guy that you thinks loves it trashes on it, you know, and one guy's perspective is funny. He's like, so she wishes, she doesn't really make the wish, but you know her wish is that she'll have Steve Trevor back, and he comes back, right? But he comes back in the way of possessing somebody's body. So when we look at that person, it's this dude. When she looks at him, all she can see is Chris Pine's character. It's Chris Pine, right? And so he's like, now I gotta try to explain to my 6-year-old kid why she was screwing that guy for no apparent reason. You know, he's like, it's like at the end, you know, she sees the guy again. It's like, we did it, you know. It's like she doesn't say that, but it's like she's like, but you didn't know we saw each other naked. You know, it's just like, it's like, now I gotta explain to a kid about stuff like that. It's like, don't you think, well, part of some of this stuff, don't you? I mean, it's like, if she can wish for him to come back, why does it have to be that way? Why can't he just come back? Right. It's like, I mean, the whole point of the story is that stuff just happens when you wish for it, and it happens. So why can't, it's like,
So it sounds like I'm not missing anything.
You didn't miss much. There's stuff you'll like about it because it's. But
any good fight scenes in it like they had in the first one?
No.
None?
I didn't think so.
That's sad.
I watched her beat up these 4 guys at the beginning of the movie in the mall, saying, "Man, she's doing an awful lot of running and jumping and sliding and dashing and for 4 regular human dudes. That's an awful lot of work she's doing for just 4 dudes."
Right.
They're not. I mean, they got guns, but they're not like shooting. Not doing all this stuff. And it's just like,
right.
We're in the other one. These guys are soldiers. They all got guns. They're shooting at her. She's dodging and blocking and sliding and beating the shit out of them because there's tons of them. I mean, there were some seriously cool moments in that where it's like superhero. You could see superhero moment. This, I didn't think there was really any superhero moment. I didn't. And there was one scene that I was waiting for, and then when it happened, it was like, because in the trailer they show her.
I never even seen the trailer.
Oh, there's this part where this truck flips and she flips over the top of it, right? And as she's coming, she's doing this in air kind of walk. But the way she was doing it, in my mind, it was like I was taken right back to a kid watching Linda Carter fly through the air. Just the same kind of way, you know. It was like, oh, that's awesome. I hope that whole kind of scene is just Linda Carter-esque. And no.
That's funny.
I was excited to see it, and then I was like, no. Way too much lasso stuff. Just do things with that lasso and make a lot of people jealous. It's like, it's a lasso. It's not a...
Right.
I don't know. So there's just some things about it that was just like, eh.
Oh well. Once again,
think you'd like
let's
it.
see here.
Because you like Captain Marvel.
Let's.
I didn't think that was very good.
It was okay.
And you liked.
But let's keep score here.
The other one like that.
So Marvel has had what? 8 really good movies, and DC's had what? None.
Well, I don't know. Batman Returns was good.
Yeah.
All
of the Batman with Christopher Nolan.
The Christopher Nolan ones, and then the original first 2 Batmans were good.
Yeah.
And even though
and that was what's his name at the wheel? What the hell's his name?
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton at the wheel,
and even
he did
though
a good job.
I don't, as a whole, like Batman Forever, I still think that Kilmer was one of the best Batmans. To me, I really liked him. I like the fact.
I like Val Kilmer as an actor.
Well, I like the fact that he separated the character. So there was times when he was Bruce Wayne, and there's times when he was Batman. He actually broke the psychology of the two. Whereas it seemed like Christian Bale just used the voice to disguise himself. Whereas when Kilmer is talking like Batman, it's because he's in his brain. He's he's like a split personality. He's Batman because there's a time when he became Robin for the first time, and he gets to the Batcave just after Bruce Wayne does, and he's in there. And Wayne's got the cowl off, and he's got a towel, and he's toweling off, and Robin comes in and goes, "That was great, man. We could be like a dynamic duo, team up, blah blah blah." And he's like, "No, you won't." But he talks to him in the kind of like the Japanese like the samurai prefecture.
Mm-hmm.
He talks to him in the Batman tone of voice. And you're like, well, man, he's Bruce Wayne now. He's still Batman. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, you can't stop me. I can stop you. You know, it was like right then I was like, that's cool. I dug that from that moment, and that's the reason I like him so much.
But still, Marvel's winning.
Well, and the first Superman, Christopher Donner's Superman was great. The first one.
Well, hell yeah! You mean with Christopher Reeve?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I mean, but
we grew up on those.
I mean, that's Iron Man, right? I mean, if you say that
Iron Man was better than Superman. Sorry.
I mean, but if you're looking at like Justice League movies versus, I don't know, Wonder Woman. Just the first Wonder Woman was good. The second one wasn't so good.
Right.
You know, everybody says this Civil War Captain America was so good. The second Captain America. But I thought it was really boring the very first time I saw it. And I didn't really like it that much.
It had Black Panther in it. And it was cool.
Stupid. It was boring. It was boring. And if you read Civil War...
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but it's like Deadpool again. Oh, what? We can only afford one X-Men, right? You know, he goes to the X Mansion.
Right.
He's looking around.
Right.
Well, we can only afford one of you.
Right.
You know, it was like they did Civil War, which is the whole Marvel universe split.
Right.
Half and half. That's good guys and villains. Good guys and villains.
But they did introduce Tom Holland, and he is a great Spider-Man.
It's all right.
No, he's a great Spider-Man.
Toby was better.
Toby was great, and to use your line, up to the point where he did this.
I like that scene. I actually like that scene where he turns, does the Venom thing and all.
That is so horrible.
The dancing.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mind that. Because it was comic booky. I didn't mind that.
Nobody walks down the street and points at random people.
That's true.
Nobody. I don't care if you are Venom.
But remember, that Venom had part Eric Foreman in him, so maybe he would. That's Eddie Brock.
That was the worst choice ever.
It was.
Well, first of all, and I tell this to my kids, in the third movie, they should have just cut out everything about Venom and just did a standalone story of Spider-Man versus the Sandman.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Sandman backstory and everything deserves its own movie.
And Hayden Church is really good. I mean, he's phenomenal, right? I mean, it was Lowell as a badass.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, that's awesome. It was a great story. But you had him, Hobgoblin,
yeah,
and Venom. It was just too much.
Right.
They have to do that every time. It was just like with Wonder Woman. Probably one of the problems with it was they had this Max Lord character and Cheetah. You know what I mean? It just...
I don't understand why they do that.
Just do one of
That's a Hollywood fallacy, or...
Well, it's like what one guy said. They said it's like the way superhero movies are set up, that you have to have a big baddie fight at the end to show superpowers. So they had to have Cheetah in it because she could go the superpower wise, because Max Lord's just a regular human. You know, it's just like...
But Hollywood does that all the time. It's the biggest mistake in the world, is they always try to make it, that sequel, so much bigger because there's more bad guys. Well, it's like save that till when you get to the Sinister Six, okay?
Right.
Just save it. Just do standalone stories.
And I admit, I would have rather seen a third Andy Garfield movie about the Sinister Six than any of the Tom Holland movies. They were okay, and I'm sorry, but
I thought Far From Home was really good.
I hated that. I hated that he had to go and Iron Man won that fight. You know what I mean? It's just like, if it hadn't been for Iron Man, it's technology, Iron Man stuff, Iron Man this, it's like, what part of Spider-Man is in this movie? It's like, I don't know. And that's what, in the Holland, at the end of that Holland movie, they showed us, Paul Giamatti in that Rhino outfit thing, and it was like, oh man, that I was wondering how they were going to do Rhino and translate it to the screen. It was like, that's kind of interesting. The sinister sticks on that would be kind of psycho, and then it got reinforced again with Into the Spider-Verse and seeing what they did with the Green Goblin in there, making him giant like that. I thought that was creative license taken to a whole new level of coolness.
I like how they changed the Dr. Octopus.
I didn't think I was gonna like that, but I liked it. It was hilarious. It was awesome, and
I liked the way that they changed Dr. Octopus into a woman and stuff. I thought that worked really well. The Spider-Verse one. Plus, I like the.
It wasn't too bad.
In the comic books, the arms are metal, and they use some kind of, it looked like almost a rubber.
Well, yeah, it's just a updated like a.
But yeah.
Well, that's the fun thing about going back and look at some of the old stuff. And you see what they thought advanced technology was back then. Like.
Right.
What we use now compared to what they thought was advanced is kind of funny.
Right, I know. But it's funny because sometimes I think when we get to that point in the future where, robots aren't going to look like robots, I think eventually they're going to look more like us. We're going to get to the point where we'll be able to, biomechanically engineer flesh and everything.
And that's what those guys were talking about last night, with what aliens would look like, and it's funny how we create aliens that look all different because it's fun in science fiction.
Right.
But the whole idea is, if this is how creative life gets started because of this type of atmosphere, and then it allows us to create other things. Like they keep talking about how smart are dolphins, but dolphins are never going to be able to advance to human level because they can't do simple things like create fire.
Right.
To then make something, a tool that will advance their civilization. Right. So then they start talking about, well, on other planets it's all water-based, so then it'll be blah, 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 blah. And it's amazing how smart they sound in 1 minute and then stupid they sound the next minute. And
yeah.
It's like, well, wouldn't they look just close to what we look? Maybe taller, maybe shorter, depending on how they treated their atmosphere or something. I don't know. But other than that, though, I mean, for the most part, they should look pretty humanoid.
Because, it's funny how, we talk about the intelligence of somebody, or, the intelligence of a man, and it's the brain that, has advanced us as a species to the top of the food chain and stuff. And it's like, that's true to a point. But I think this is just as important as the brain. I mean, because if you can't manipulate stuff with your hand,
Well, there's other things too that people don't understand. Scapula. So apes don't have scapulas.
Okay.
So they can't do certain movements like humans can't, like we can, because of the scapula. The opposable thumb, right? So our eyes are forward. There's so many things that makes us
right
superior.
I mean, if we didn't have all of those things working together, I mean, it's amazing because like our eyes, work differently than any other animals. And it's like, I don't know, when you get into that whole philosophical discussion on whether there was a creator versus whether we just happened. I don't know. Part of me, even though I'm not a religious person, I think there was some creation there.
Well, yeah, that's. I don't know. I. It's a whole nother.
That's a long conversation.
Well, it's not so much that. It's the. It's even like those guys last night. They were saying, well, Bill Gates is the person pushing this vaccine on the world, and what does he know about vaccines? And what does he know about this? But here I am, some idiot talking on the internet, but I know more than him. Why? What articles have you read that he hasn't read?
Right.
What brain power do you have that he doesn't have?
Right.
You know what I mean? Just because, you can't automatically cancel him for saying things like that when you're not a professional in that profession either.
Right.
And you're canceling what other people say, right? It's like me rolling my eyes about certain this and certain that, it's like, but that doesn't mean just because I don't have the credentials doesn't mean I'm not smart enough to understand something.
Well, that's the thing. Is what's funny is you'll hear all these people will say stuff like, I wish celebrities or I wish rich people wouldn't give their opinion about certain things, and it's like it's not necessarily that they're going out there and just giving their opinion willy nilly. People ask them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's people it. I mean, people ask them the question and they answer the question.
Right.
It's like, yes, it would be neat if they, would just say, sorry, I'm not going to comment. But no,
they get to have their opinion.
They get to have their opinion.
But just because they're a celebrity doesn't make them
the genius.
A genius.
Yeah, I know.
Especially when a lot of them, they're not that, maybe not that smart.
Right.
But some of them are, and some of them can be.
Somebody's always going to ask them, though.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody that asks what Tom Cruise's opinion of this thing is, or what, or what Bill Gates' opinion of this thing is.
Well, he has a foundation that's working on vaccines.
Right.
So, I mean, but he also believes that the Earth is overpopulated.
Right.
And that's what makes people scared about the idea of taking a vaccine that right?
Right.
Because how in one instance you say we need to preserve life, but in the second instance say we need to cull the Earth by half people? That doesn't, you know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
And then they say, ooh, take this. It's like,
right.
No.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah.
So it's just, and then you hear some of the crazy stuff about those vaccines. 2 stages.
Yeah.
Doctors need to prepare people to take it because it's going to hit you so hard that you won't want to take the second one.
Mm.
And it's like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah, it's a 2.
It's going to make you so sick
Well,
or hurt so bad.
everybody, is mostly complaining that the second one hits you hardest.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Well, the first one's supposed to hit you hard enough that it won't make you go back to get the second one. Is what they're...
But the thing is it's funny because the last thing I watched before I came here was, Biden was giving some speech about how he was saying that people aren't getting the this thing fast enough, and he blames Trump's administration for not getting this out fast, to the people fast enough. And it's like, time out. Aren't you the one that was going to, I mean, he did this warp speed thing and got this thing to market when he said it would be there. And, it's like, is there anything that Trump can do that these people are not going to shit on? Because warp speed was a miracle.
It's like, what's his name? It's like Tim said, he could run into a fire-burning building, save a baby, run out, hear a puppy whine, run back into a building, burning building, and pull out a litter of puppies, and they would find some way to blame him for doing it, or say that,
or causing the fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
You ran in there twice, you could have spread the fire to another building. You could have caught on fire, come out, touch something else, and caught that on fire. What were you thinking?
But Biden, so basically he's saying, that he's going to somehow speed up the way that this thing's being distributed. It's like, okay, I don't believe that to be true at all. But yeah.
Well, and if, but I don't know, how is it that they say that it's supposed to hit you hard and then it's not hitting these people hard? So what did they take?
Right.
Was that just saline? I'm sorry, I don't trust that they took the vaccine. I'm sorry.
Well, the thing is another thing.
How are you supposed to trust that they took it?
What I don't understand is, they're getting this vaccine out there, but they're supposed to give it to the frontline people first. The people, the doctors and stuff. And if you're a doctor or a nurse or somebody that has already had coronavirus, are they making you take it anyway?
I think so.
Because it seems, and they did the same thing with President Trump. They said, because, they wanted to show the world that it was safe type thing. So they had Trump take it. But Trump was the first one to say, why am I taking it? I already have the antibodies because I actually had the disease. What? And he said, no.
Because
fine.
The new strain says,
fine, I'll take it.
You
he
can
took
get
it
again.
And he said, fine, I'll take it. And so he took it. But I mean, it's just, I don't understand. Because if you have the antibodies, the new strain, the antibodies fight the new strain too. And if
it's not what they're saying. You can get it again, and even if you get the vaccine, doesn't mean you won't get it again. You won't get it.
That doesn't make any sense.
So
I think that,
but
I think the people that are saying that is they want fear to control the day.
Well, yeah, but yeah. So even if you take it, you're gonna get it.
Mm-hmm.
So then,
why take it?
All that does is make conspiracy theorists people go, well, then why are you forcing me to take it?
Mm-hmm.
What, are you going to sterilize people? Do you have a whole batch that's going to sterilize? Because there's people out there that believe that they want to sterilize a whole population of people. I don't know, something that we can't get a straight answer. You can't get our highest court to even, because look, if the highest court would just listen and say whether there was anything wrong that happened or not, at least listen, then, and if they did find something wrong, then that all the shit that's running downhill from that. So that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie.
Right.
And then maybe we could claw our way out of the darkness and know what to do, what not to do. 99.9%
well,
cure rate.
We are mushrooms. We're being kept in the dark and being fed on shit.
A 99.9 cure rate.
Well, yeah.
Or your survival rate of
Right,
it.
and that's...
And
I mean...
And so people like
even
that got it really hard.
Even older people
survive it.
It's like 99.95 or something. I mean, it's just fractionally worse for them.
Right.
And it's like, really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so what's true and what's not true? But it seems like if that one instance gets cleared, then you know that the people that were lying about this and were stopping that lied about this, lied about that, lied about this, lied about that.
Here's a question for you. If we were to go back in time to, I don't know, say 2010, Obama's in office, everything, and introduce this disease then, do you think the world would have been shut down? Because they had SARS at that moment.
Yeah, they had SARS.
And they didn't shut down the world.
They wanted to. But SARS didn't...
it wasn't spreading as fast.
It didn't spread as fast, and it didn't kill quickly enough. This killed enough people in Italy that freaked everybody out. And then we come to find out...
we shut down before that.
Right, but everything was coming out of Italy of how horrible it was, and then it was like, oh crap, we started shutting down, locking down, and but now we starting to find out all these other extenuating circumstances about Italy and why it spread so fast there. It was like, well, shit, if we would have known that, we could have said, well, we don't have that, we don't have that, and we don't have that.
Right.
And so we don't need to lock down. At least we don't need to lock down here. 90% of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. L.A., San Francisco.
I honestly don't think...
New York, maybe they should have been locked down.
I honestly don't think that we would have shut down anything if it was a different administration.
I don't know, because the people that seem to want to lock it down, are the same people that ran that administration. So I do think they would. The reason they didn't is because they already had their crisis that they were able to rape and pillage off of, which was the housing financial crisis.
Bubble.
Yeah. So they had that crisis that they were able to use and rape and pillage. If they had this on top of that, I still think they would have done the same thing. I still think, because it was just... there's conspiracy theorist people out there who say that this is right out of a game plan.
Well, if you think about it, I mean,
they've shown the game plan, and they've shown the people who said that there's a game plan.
The problem is you got these guys. I mean, the housing bubble crisis thing. When the economy fell apart. Ouch. Nobody got in trouble for that.
No, yeah. Well, no, one person did.
And it's like...
One person.
Yeah.
They said that Bernie Madoff
right.
did all of that.
Right, which was bullshit, because you can actually point at the laws and stuff that, created this entire problem.
Oh, yeah. You go back to...
Clinton. Yes.
Clinton. I think Clinton was the teetering.
Well, yeah, when he created that law that allowed them to...
Well, he didn't create it. He once again, you're talking about how do you change stuff. Well, there was a law set in the Glass-Steagall Act that said you couldn't do that from all the way back from the 20s.
Right. Yes.
Crash.
Right.
And so there was a law, and Clinton
got rid of it.
So there's a way to change. You always say that everything keeps getting bigger and bigger, but there are ways to get rid of some of that stuff if the rest of the people will go along with it.
Yes, as long as there's enough greedy ass bastards that will go along with it. Yes.
But you can change stuff eventually. But
anyway, so I mean, all that stuff can be traced back to an honest to God, this person did it, this person did it, this person did it. And, you can show all of these people that are to blame for it, and not one of those goddamn people got in trouble for it. And now you fast forward to now, those people are still still in the government, and they're still doing these things, and, there's nothing to stop them because they know that if they screw up and something gets totally demolished or destroyed, it's not going to affect them.
The people that made the most money from that bubble was the banks, like Goldman Sachs, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know who...
But there was also banks that went under, if you remember.
Well, I know, but they used that for those banks to buy those banks.
Mm-hmm.
And they used our tax dollars to buy those banks.
Right.
And what they were buying were deeds and mortgages.
Yep.
Where they were buying those deeds. And it was the largest land grab in the history of the world.
Yep.
And now we have the largest economic grab that's happening. The amount of wealth that's being shifted from the middle, lower class to the upper class is unparalleled in the history of the world. And it's the same exact people who did it then who are reaping the benefits now.
Yep.
And all those Goldman Sachs people that made all those billions back then are all being put in Biden's cabinet now.
Correct.
But what do we know? We're just...
But I mean...
we're just dummies sitting on the internet talking. Orange Man is bad.
Yeah.
Those people raped and stole all your money, but Orange Man bad.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? It's amazing. It's amazing what the media has been able to do.
Well, that's just it. I mean, when you talk about the F word again, I'm of the opinion, and I kind of, came to this opinion when I was watching the actual the night of the election, when they were counting ballots and stuff like that. If you go all the way back to when it first started, when they were when you go on to NBC or whatever channel, and you're actually watching them talk about stuff, they were only counting votes for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And as the night went on, eventually they had to throw in some more Trump stuff, but they were, for the longest time it was all Biden's winning, but all this kind of stuff, and it felt like that that old saying, if you say it enough, then it's true, because every channel was saying that. But then you go on to any of the conservative, YouTube channels or anything like that, and they were actually giving counts that were, more balanced or whatever. They were counting the votes as they came in. They weren't holding back on anything. And it's like, okay, are they trying to engineer something here? And then by the end of it, at the end of the night, it was clear that Trump was winning. It's like, and then they're like, and then, so everybody went to sleep. I mean, at least I went to sleep, and woke up the next morning, and that Trump lead was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And, Biden was ahead, and I'm like, how, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
well, it's fascinating. He's like, well, how is it you can call a state 60% vote in over there, but this state has 60% vote in, and I'm winning by a big majority, and that's not called?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, somewhere in the middle of the night, it flipped. It's like, and we can't get SCOTUS to even look at it.
Right.
So,
because
I don't understand how you can't even look at 270.
Well, this is the one that I don't understand.
Affidavits.
I mean, we have film of a person bringing in a table at the very beginning and setting up their own table amongst all these other tables. And then later, that same person that brought the table in, they wheeled it in. They didn't unfold it and put it up.
Right.
They wheeled in this table that had a cover on it. That same person says, "There's a water leak. Everybody get the fuck out." Kicks out all the people, and then they pull suitcases from underneath this table that person brought in, and none of this is questioned. It's like, what?
How is that not?
I mean, to me, that is the smoking gun. That is 100% proof. Look. God, if they would have, if they would have pulled out big piles of paper, ballots, just big old wads of, started stacking that up on the table, and it's like, but I don't understand.
That's all it is.
I don't understand.
And that's why we were talking last time. You were talking about, well, fine, we'll just do that next time. And it's like, they've already set that rule up. We get to do it, but you won't be able to get to do it. We will prosecute you and put you in jail for it. But
I don't understand how there's got to be some law enforcement officer out there somewhere that looks at that video and says, that person is Phyllis McKinley, whatever her name is, and I'm going to do everything in my power as a law enforcement officer to arrest that fucking bitch for doing what she did.
Right. No.
I mean,
that was our conversation.
I don't even know, in all the videos that I've seen,
mm-hmm.
who that chick is.
Right.
I mean, is there a video, and I'll ask the people out there, is there a video out there that says, that is blah?
No, I don't think so. All they know is that she was some worker there.
Yeah.
They know she's something, but they don't know.
But she had the authority to kick everybody the fuck out of the building.
Yeah.
So, I want to know who the hell she is.
Who she is, yeah. There's another lady that counted ballots. She got arrested for something, but it wasn't that lady. Yeah,
nobody knows who the hell she even is.
Where's the cop? So then that goes back to what those guys were talking about with the idea that they're criminals. These cops are just allowing stuff to happen, and I mean, if
far too often,
it's like, well, and the worst part is how many of those Republicans and these Trump supporters were out there with a flag with a little blue line on it, trying to support you when they want to defund you, and you won't even look into it.
Right.
Then you are a criminal, and then that is a sad state of affairs, because if they can get away with doing whatever they want and they have the gun to protect themselves from you, then their own privatized military, then well, I don't know what's going to happen. They keep talking about this peaceful divorce, but I don't see that. What happened with the Civil Wars, they said, no, you're not leaving us because we want your resources, and we're going to keep the Union together no matter what. But I don't, because what's our peaceful divorce now? Our peaceful divorce is 10, 15 cities, and then the rest of the country.
Right.
It's 90% versus 10%. 90% of the land versus 10% of the land, and it's about an even split down the way population.
Right.
And I don't know how you peacefully divorce that. And it's not evenly split like a north and a south. it's a coast.
Right.
It's half a coast.
Right.
And some stuff in the middle.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, seriously, what kind of quasi weird thing do you think you could set up that would function?
Right.
I don't, unless the only thing you could do is dissolve the union 100%, and each state becomes its own country,
Right.
and then you can unify together with other countries in trade deals and pacts. I don't know. Other than that, though, and then good luck once you de-unify yourself. Then some of those states like California would swing in a heartbeat to cut L.A. and San Francisco off from the rest of the Central Valley and northern part. You know what I mean? They'd be like, hell no. You guys go over there and rot, you know? And then I would be like, oh, you're Hollywood, so everybody in LA must be billionaires because it's Hollywood.
Right.
And they're like, no, that's only a small, no, you're all billionaires. So let's see, I grow apples. Yeah, I'm going to charge you $20 an apple. No, you know.
Right.
We want to leave. Oh, you need a visa. And we're denying visa from California, you know.
Right.
You have to have passport and a visa to move to another state, to another country, and we're not accepting any from there, you know.
Yeah.
You think Border Patrol is bad now, just like that, you know.
No, I mean, it's just
Well, I talked with Florida, you know.
I have no idea, really. Like I said, we seem to, as a country, just kind of shrugged our shoulders and said, yep, there's corruptions, there's fraud, there's this, there's that, and the government is, spying on us and yada, 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 and no,
I think it comes down
that's to be expected.
Well, yeah, and it's like with those idiots last night on the shows, because none of them, they all talk about owning guns and having guns, and I talked about this many times with you about, when are you going to stand up and willing to do something? It's like with that whole thing with the road, the whole idea of Son of Life is okay, so he hires a private security. He's got two guys himself.
Right.
You hire two guys yourself. And you tell him, unlock my road, and he says no. Well, now it's between you and him. Are you willing to protect your property that way? You willing to go out, hide it, and put your property on the line? And those guys are not. And I think it's the same thing with that. Why do we let that happen? Well, a lot of it is because, the alternative means a lot of fighting. And a lot of people don't want to get in a fight. A lot of people don't know how to fight. And it just seems like, the alternative is, and it's like the frog with the boiling water until you're cooked. But the alternative is jumping out and getting smacked down right off the bat, And I was going to say, it's okay. So you become an autonomous zone, whatever type thing, and it's like, are you going to be willing to be part of that militia or whatever? Say Utah breaks, and okay, we're going to protect our state.
Right.
So 2 days out of the month, you're constricted to go out and guard Highway 51 at the border, and stop cars from coming in and out. Are you going to be one of those people that sign up and do that? Stand out there with a gun, two of you or whatever, three of you, stand out there and there's a car coming, no, you're gone. oh, you got papers, you can come in. You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
I mean, at what point is, I say it all the time with, you know, they want to take away your gun, but you got to understand the mindset of some of these people. They don't want you to own a gun to protect yourself, but in their own mind, it's that guy's job over there to die to protect me. It's that police officer's job to die to save my life. It's not for me to do it, because, you know, then that might mean I get hurt. But you know, it's like I want these politicians and these other people that are so anti-gun and so I want you to look at those police officers' children, those servicemen's children, and I want you to tell them, your parent is a piece of shit and their life isn't worth mine. I want them to die before I have to protect myself and my family.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I want you to just look at that child and say that to them, because that's really what you're saying. You want them to do it before they have to do it for themselves. And it's not an easy thing. You want to watch a great movie, watch Rashomon. Have you seen Rashomon from Akira Kurosawa?
So I like Kurosawa.
So in that movie, it's kind of like a detective movie. It's a samurai movie, but so one guy has killed another guy, and then there's the woman there, and we hear, and then somebody else I think saw it, and so we hear this person's account, this person's account, this person's account, and then they act it out,
right?
And we see it, and the one guy who thinks he's this great samurai, and the other person's saying he's like runs and slashes and then runs back and the sword fight is like that. It's like as each of them are just slapping swords at each other. Mm-hmm. It's not the that you see in most. They're because you don't want to get cut, and it's fascinating because you're like, you've never seen samurai act like that, or even the notion of it. But it's the reality of.
No, this was somebody's version of what happened.
Yes, it's one of the person's version of how they saw what actually went down with the fight.
Right.
Was that neither of them wanted to, and then one lunges at the other one, and the other one lunges, but he turns and runs, and then he turns and it's just this fight between two cowards. You know, it's just fascinating because everybody thinks they're the samurai, but most of the time it's that, you know, and well,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it's like, we went and got our concealed carries, but I haven't concealed carried yet.
Right.
I don't know. I don't want to get in a fight. But that doesn't mean, and me and the wife have had extensive conversations about this, trying to figure out, what do we do? We have this brand new kid. You know, my brother said, yeah, heck yeah, I'm out there in a heartbeat. Well, you're older. His family's all grown up. You know what I mean?
Here's a for instance for you. Say that you know, Biden makes a law to where he does a mandatory gun buyback. What would you do?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? And
because
so then
the way that he's written it is what he wants to do is you either sell back your gun or you pay a tax every year on each gun that you own.
Mm-hmm. Probably compounding until you can't.
Right.
Until you can't afford it. And then if you say, oh, I lost them in a boating accident.
Right.
And you can't pinpoint where was the accident.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember where it was.
Probably arrest you.
They'll arrest you.
Mm-hmm.
and you'll go to jail. And they won't make it a simple jail. It'll be 10 years at least.
Yep.
And they won't, go easy. They'll seek mandatory. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. What do you do? Are you gonna post up against the police when they come? And it's 1 against 20. Do you die on that altar?
Unfortunately, I think I would.
I think there's a lot that will.
Right.
And that's why so much of this hinges on the character of your police departments.
Yep.
And
soldiers.
But the problem though is is what I keep saying is, well, so they fire all those cops and then hire people that will enforce it.
Yep.
And sure, at the beginning, they're not going to be very good at their job, but they'll get good quick.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get good quick, and the only way that you'll be able to stand up to it is you're going to have to split your city in half.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't go on that side, they can't go on that side, but now you have to be able to live. And how do you live? And they cut off your bank account, and then they cut off. But how do you get?
Mm-hmm.
It's just this crazy logistical nightmare that we have become so accustomed to. That is the biggest problem. It's like, well, how do you survive then? How do you? And so much of it's community, but guess what? Guess what we've done in the last 20 years with social media? We've destroyed community.
Mm-hmm.
We had no community. A bunch of cops show up next door, and you're like,
right.
What did Marty do? Shut up and go away. No, he's cool. What did he do? Shut up and go away. No, he's a good guy.
If you don't shut up and go away, we're going to arrest you.
But what did he do? Well, he did this. Nah, Marty wouldn't have done that. Well, we're going to... No. And then you call another friend shows up, another friend shows up, you know what I mean? But that community is stripped.
Mm-hmm.
All your neighbors who supposedly know you, now it's like, well, I don't talk to my neighbor. That guy that did the Nashville,
right. And
don't
it's
know
just like,
about him.
I mean, and if you remember in the first comic book of a town called Liberty, he wants to answer that question of why this one power station, this one wind farm is producing 3 times the amount of energy as all these others.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to investigate why, and then they pin him in the media as a terrorist.
Right.
Because he broke into a public facility.
And they say that with the cops too. Cops aren't going to do that, but all they have to do is tell the cop that you're this.
Right.
And then it's fine.
Right.
But unless the cops know you, then they won't care.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, your community's broken down. And who talks to cops nowadays? Nobody likes cops. Nobody wants to talk to cops.
Right.
Why? Because we left the idea that when something happened, who do you run? You run to the cop and ask them a question. Now you don't know what to do with them.
Right.
You see police officer in your rearview mirror. You wonder, oh shit, did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
That's your first reaction. That should be, hey, how you doing?
Right.
Hey, Tom. What's up?
Yeah.
It's what it should be, but now it's like, oh crap, did I do something wrong?
Well, it's just like when I took Noe out to have him go shooting the very first time. The cop pulls up and gets out, and I start talking to the cop, and Noe's like, after the cop left, he's like, if that was me, the cop would have had me on the ground handcuffed. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's true.
Maybe not. But that's.
But yeah, I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I worry all the time about it. Well, should we wrap up?
Yeah, I just don't know.
Went off the deep end.
I don't know if I worry about it as much as no matter how much we talk about it and beat our head against a wall, that wall's not going to crumble. It seems like, because I will say once again, as an individual, I don't see how to fix this.
Right. Well, I was telling Laura, one way to start, and I say the things, but I don't do them.
Right.
I should be down at town hall meetings every Tuesday night or whatever. You should be down at town hall meetings listening.
Well, I called my, they always say on, radios.
Although
and
they
stuff,
probably won't let you in now.
no, I'm just saying, on radios and stuff like that, TV shows, etc. When you're talking about the fraud and all that kind of stuff, they say, well, you should call your congressman. Guess what? I have.
Right.
You get to say your piece, and that's it.
That's it, right? Well, and that's the thing is, and even like at the town hall meeting, what I'm saying though is you go and they'll just kick you out.
Yes.
And that's a way to control it too. But hey, be that person. Get enough of you that when somebody gets up to talk, ask them. Where are you from? Mm-hmm. Well, I've lived here for 20 years. All right, go. Where are you from? Well, we just moved in from Chicago. Shut the fuck up and get out of here. We're from LA. Shut up. No. Right? If they're going to screw up your city,
right,
then you just tell them, no. You're not bringing that bureaucratic shit here.
Right.
Don't. No, you fled there. Don't. Once again, like with Tim and those guys, stop trying to fix bureaucracy with bureaucracy. It doesn't work. That's idiocracy.
Good movie, by the way.
Oh yeah, and what's fascinating about that movie is they think that's like Trump supporters. They think that's was the right.
Mm-hmm.
It's so the left because everything is homogenized.
First of all, Mike Judge wrote it.
I mean, who?
Mike Judge wrote it.
Who's that?
He wrote Beavis and Butthead, but the one, and he also wrote King of the Hill and all that stuff. And the one thing that most people don't understand is, Mike Judge is a conservative.
Oh yeah, that makes sense because that is total. I mean,
and it's like. You don't want to say that kind of stuff too loud because Mike Judge is in Hollywood and stuff, and he is a writer that everybody respects because he writes this great stuff. I mean, Idiocracy is genius. But I'm always afraid that somebody on the left is going to go, this guy's a Republican. Get him the fuck out of here.
I mean, all you have to do is watch Idiocracy and watch how the healthcare system is done there, and then just, hey, that's universal healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
What show was I watching? I was watching somebody's talking, and somebody was doing a super chat, and they read off a super chat. Oh, I was watching Michael Malice. That's what it was. I haven't watched too much of him, but he was on Tim's show when Alex Jones was on it.
Oh, okay.
And so I was watching his show, and somebody wrote in super chat, and they said they're from Canada, and their cousin was taken off of their cancer treatment to make way for COVID
patients.
Wow. They stopped her chemo for COVID preparations.
Not actual COVID patients, but for preparation.
I think so. It was something like that. It was something to make way for COVID So maybe they needed to refit that section of the hospital.
Yeah, because they put in I know a lot of the hospitals here in Utah, they
but
put
then
in new,
move her somewhere.
Right.
For he said they stopped her chemo.
Right.
What?
I don't know.
It was like, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna end there.
we're gonna wrap up.
It's only been 3.5 hours.
Remember,
I don't know how we keep doing this.
BurnoutStudios.com.
Burnout Studios, share. I don't know. This one might not be able to last too long on YouTube, but maybe it will. We're probably so small, it'll take forever for it to get to it.
Nobody will see it for a while.
Yeah. All right, thanks for